Chapter 770. Yang Yutian's Strength 1. At the same time, in an unknown region within the artifact space, there was a sword-shaped mountain peak sealed up by the Saint Artifact's energy. A middle-aged man in beast skins currently laid on the very peak of the mountain, staring blankly at the white, misty sky with dull eyes. A while later, the man's eyes slowly became more lively. He gave out a loud sigh and cursed angrily. "Bloody artifact spirit. You've actually trapped me here again. Humph. That abominable Radiant Saint Master Union actually sends a group of ant-like Radiant Saint Masters here for trials every 50 years, forcing me to be chained up by that bloody artifact spirit. This is just preposterous. Why must I, an actual Class 8 magical beast, be trapped here like I'm in prison? This is a huge humiliation." The man clenched his fists tightly and said with gritted teeth, "Too bad the artifact spirit's too strong. Even though I'm a Class 8 beast of antiquity, I'm not that bloody artifact spirit's opponent. In this space, I don't even have the ability to counterattack. Humph. Wait till I reach Class 9. I'll definitely break out of this space. And that goddamn artifact spirit, trapping me for so long, I'll definitely teach him a solid lesson and vent my anger." Speaking up to there, the man seemed to remember something. His expression became gloomy and he muttered, "It's a pity that it's absolutely impossible to break through to Class 9 in this space. Do I have to stay trapped in this bloody space until I die?" AI. The middle-aged man gave out a long sigh, while his expression was filled with helplessness. Just at this moment, the middle-aged man's face suddenly froze, while his eyes shone with a dumbstruck light. "Wow, what is this presence?" The man's face was filled with shock. He had already stood up from the ground. Standing on the peak of the mountain, he stared at the horizon far away, while his expression fluctuated between shock and doubt. "Just what is this presence? It actually makes the depths of my soul tremble. No, this is impossible. There cannot be any presence within the artifact space that can make me tremble, not even that powerful artifact spirit. And this presence is clearly so weak." The man was absolutely astounded, but even after a lot of thought, he could not reach a conclusion. He just did not understand why such a weak presence would cause the depths of his soul to shake. Suddenly, an ancient piece of inherited memory slowly appeared in the man's head. It immediately turned the man sheet white, completely overwhelming him with disbelief. "It's the ancient beast god, the winged tiger god. It's the presence of the winged tiger god." The man cried out involuntarily, completely astounded. "My inherited memories clearly record some information of the winged tiger god. This winged tiger god is the god of the beast race, a paramount existence that once surpassed Saint Emperor. Even the war god Ergens of the ancient 100 races fell to its hands. And I'm actually sensing its presence in the Saint Artifact right now. How is that possible? How did a winged tiger god appear here?" All the powerful magical beasts sealed up within the Saint Artifact sensed the presence from the winged tiger god, as the tiger's presence pervaded the region, each changing greatly in expression. They all began guessing at what it was. Other than the powerful magical beasts, even the competitors hunting beasts felt it. Between them, there were plenty of people with broad knowledge, immediately recognizing that the presence was from a beast of antiquity in its breakthrough. They all traveled towards the origin of the presence with various different thoughts and feelings. The disturbance from the white tiger's sudden breakthrough was extremely great. Not only did it alert the powerful sealed-up magical beasts, even all the competitors were attracted towards it. From all directions, large numbers of white-robed Radiant Saint Masters flew towards where the tiger was. They had temporarily abandoned all battles, under the temptation of a beast of antiquity. Very soon, a few Radiant Saint Masters arrived outside the cave Jian Shun had carved open. "This presence originates from inside. The magical beast should be inside the cave," a Radiant Saint Master remarked as he pointed at the dark cave. "The beast's only just started breaking through, and it seems to be amidst its breakthrough. It should be at its weakest. Everyone rush in and tame that beast. Once we tame a beast of antiquity, our strength will increase greatly." A Radiant Saint Master called out in the crowd of people, attempting to push some people into the cave to see what was going on inside. However, what he said had no effect at all. The Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters present were all people of great age. So how could they be tricked so easily? None of them dared to charge in brashly, before understanding the situation within the cave. Who knew? Perhaps unknown dangers awaited right in front of them. Also, the Class 5 magical beasts were beasts that had essentially reached adulthood. How could they be so easily tamed? The presence from the cave constantly grew stronger. Going from Class 5 to Class 6 was a qualitative leap for the white tiger. The energy in its body was currently being converted at great speeds to Class 6. But as it was a winged tiger god, breaking through was much more difficult than normal magical beasts. But once it did succeed, its strength would take a similar qualitative leap, reaching something beyond regular magical beasts and those beasts of antiquity. Currently, Jianchen continued to use his blood to speed up the white tiger's breakthrough. He knew exactly what was going on outside, but he did not have the power to prevent it. His face also began to turn sheet white from the loss of blood. Very soon, another 2 hours passed. The number of Radiant Saint Masters gathered outside had already reached into the triple digits. They all stared at the cave and discussed about it, but no one was willing to go in and scout it out. At this moment, another group of over 20 people flew over from the distance with a great commotion. They directly flew over the people's heads, arriving 30 meters away from the cave. It's people of the Tsar family, they're people of the Tsar family. The people of the Tsar family have also come, and their numbers are quite plenty. Looks like the beast of antiquity is probably going to end up with the Tsar family. Whatever, since the Tsar family is also participating, let's give up on it. This Tsar family must never be offended. The arrival of the group immediately caused quite a large hubbub among the crowd below, and a small portion of people immediately squashed out the sliver of greed within them. Although the Tsar family was only one of the 3 great clans of the Holy Empire, they were the most powerful clan among the 3. They were even capable of staving off the other 2 clans just by itself. The family was so powerful that even ancient clans did not dare to provoke them for certain things. The old man at the very front seems to be Zartilos. He's researched radiant arts for several centuries, and has already reached a great level of proficiency with its use. He's extremely strong, as well as ranked 4th among the 10 great Class 6 Radiant Saint Masters. That person besides Zartilos seems to be the second disciple of the Radiant Saint Master Union, Yin Tian. He's ranked 5th among the top 10. At this very moment, another dozen or so Radiant Saint Masters flew over from the distance in a group. Their arrival immediately raised the attention of many people. It's the Kazda clan of the Empire's 3 great clans. They must have come for the magical beast breaking through in the cave as well. Now that 2 of the 3 great clans have come, only the Kara clan isn't here. The Kara clan should come very soon. I heard that the first young lady of the Kara clan, Kara Liwei, is first among the 10 great Radiant Saint Masters. She's already reached the very peak of Class 6, and is known as the strongest below Class 7. In the blink of an eye, the originally desolate mountain range became bustling with noise and activity with the arrival of people. There were at least 500 Radiant Saint Masters that had gathered outside the cave. Not only did all the famous people of the Holy Empire come, even 2 of the 3 great clans came. People of the Tsar family and the Kara clan stood at the very front closest to the cave. As soon as the 2 groups saw each other, they glared at one another, as if they were water and fire, groups that would clash as soon as a disagreement occurred. The leading elder, Zartilos, of the Tsar family eyed the people from the Kazda clan coldly. He sneered, "Kazdada, perhaps you want to steal the beast of antiquity from our Tsar family?" The person who led the Kazda clan group was also a ruddy old man. Hearing Zartilos' words, the old man Kazdada also replied with a sneer, "This beast of antiquity's already reached Class 6, so how can it be so easily tamed?" Zartilos, it's not that I look down on you lot, but even if your whole group goes in, you won't be able to seize a beast of antiquity that's reached Class 6. And even if you do succeed, it definitely won't yield to your Tsar family with its pride. Zartilos snorted coldly. Whether we can take and tame the beast is the Tsar family's problem. It's not something you members of the Kazda clan can decide. Kazdada laughed coldly. Since you put it like that, Let's all personally see if your Tsar clan can take this beast of antiquity. If you can't even seize it, taming it would be an absolute joke. Zartilos harumphed coldly, before no longer paying any more attention to Kazdada. He stared fixedly at the cave before him, while a rare sliver of sternness appeared on his face. Zarsilio, Zarsike, Zaryunhai, you three go in and have a look at what's going on inside. They had no idea what was going on inside the cave. Although Zartilos was confident in his strength, he did not dare to act too unbridledly within the artifact space. Yes, Elder. 3 middle-aged men immediately replied with soft voices from behind Zartilos. They then condensed radiant saint armor to protect their bodies, carefully approaching the cave. They were protected by the artifact's energy in this space. They had no idea of the potential dangers ahead, but they felt no fear at all, because they knew that once their lives were truly threatened, they would just be expelled from the competition at most. All the people there immediately focused their attention on the 3 as they approached the cave carefully. The people all held their breaths, staring without even blinking, while many people had already donned radiant saint armors, just in case something sudden occurred. Chapter 771. Yang Yutian's Strength, 2. Just as the 3 of them approached the entrance of the cave, 3 streaks of white light suddenly shot out and arrived before them in a flash. It was extremely fast. The 3 people who had gone ahead to scout out the cave changed greatly in expression. They had been extremely careful and cautious, but they struggled to dodge the 3 streaks of white light. They were struck in the chest. Thump, thump, thump. The 3 of them were immediately thrown backwards by the powerful force with 3 muffled sounds. Their radiant saint armor were already covered with cracks at the chest region. Although the armor had blocked the entire attack for them, the powerful collision was still not something their bodies could resist. They struggled to suppress the spurt of blood from their mouths as they flew backwards, turning sheet white. Radiant Saint Swords, those are Radiant Saint Swords. There's Radiant Saint Masters in the cave. Immediately, many people in the crowd cried out in surprise. The 3 streaks of light traveled extremely quickly, but the Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters still sensed the dense Radiant Saint force. Zartilos' complexion immediately darkened. He said with a deep voice, "Who'd think that there's someone a step ahead, already inside the cave?" Those 3 swords were extremely well condensed, and were pretty powerful. There are few with such strength among all the Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters. He's definitely someone well known. Judging from that strike, he should at least be within the top 10 Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters. Yun Tian remarked from beside Zartilos while his eyes flickered with an uncertain light. He heavily injured 3 Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters, and destroyed their Radiant Saint armor, with just 3 Radiant Saint swords. Even I cannot display such strength with a single strike. The person inside is definitely stronger than me, Zartilos said with a deep voice. His complexion was very unpleasant. Hearing that, Yun Tian's heart jerked. He remembered something. Only the Kara clan isn't here among the 3 great clans, while Kara Liwei is placed first among the top 10. Perhaps it's them? Thinking up to there, Yun Tian spoke in the direction of the cave. I wonder which brother is in the cave. It would be nice if I could see you. There was no reply at all for a long time after Yun Tian had said that, which he took as rather offensive. His complexion darkened and he said coldly, "Since brother doesn't want to come out, I can only go in myself." Yun Tian did not approach the cave. Instead, he condensed a Radiant Saint sword and shot it at the cave. Bang! With a loud noise, the cave was opened up by quite a lot from the strike. In the very depths of the cave, a 2-meter-wide Radiant Saint shield slowly disappeared. Jianchen slowly pulled back his still-bleeding hand, while the dragon-slaying sword in his right hand had disappeared. He had already stored it away in his space ring. Afterwards, he slowly walked towards the outside with an overcast expression. The barrier guarding the cave had already been removed by Jianchen. There were already too many people that had gathered outside, and he did not want too many people to know about his secret of being able to cast down barriers. Otherwise, even if his Saint Ruler identity remained unexposed, it would still raise some unneeded problems and thoughts. The time it took for the white tiger to break through decreased dramatically after absorbing Jian Chen's blood. He could feel that it had reached its final stages to breaking through. So with just another few hours, it would reach Class 6. But before any breakthroughs were happening, he needed to devote all his strength to stop the people outside to prevent any dangers to the tiger. Outside the cave, Zartilos could feel the ever-increasing presence, yet his expression instead became more and more stern. He said gruffly, "That beast of antiquity is almost done with breaking through. After it succeeds, it'll become much more harder to tame it. We can't wait any longer. Everyone come with me, let's rush in." As soon as Zartilos finished speaking, he led the Tsar family group, ready to charge in forcefully. "Those who enter the cave will die." At that very moment, an icy cold voice reverberated from the cave. The voice was extremely powerful, actually aching the eardrums of all radiant saint masters present. With that, a white-robed young man who seemed to be in his 20s appeared before everyone at the cave entrance. Seeing the young man, the Tsar family people's pupil constricted abruptly. Even Yun Tian's complexion changed slightly. "Yang Yutian, it's you." Zartilos stared at Jian Chun with a cold gaze while his tone was gruff. Accompanying it was a powerful killing intent. "Junior Yang Yutian, I never thought it'd actually be you." Yun Tian stared at Jian Chun with some surprise, before sneering soon after. "Yang Yutian, is he the rumored Yang Yutian?" The people in the Tsar family group all observed Jian Chun curiously. The name, Yang Yutian, was like thunder to their ears after they had come to the city of God. But this was their first time seeing Yang Yutian. "Yang Yutian, is he Yang Yutian? I heard he's already reached Class 6 despite being just 24 this year. This Yang Yutian is an unprecedented genius. I heard that he's the most outstanding prodigy in all of history on the Tianyuan continent. That not only did he reach Class 6 when he was 24, his grasp for radiant arts has also reached an extremely high level. This Yang Yutian killed over 30 Heaven Saint Masters, all by himself on Fragrance River, and then survived the attack from a saint ruler. His strength far exceeds Karaliwei. I heard Yang Yutian is the reincarnation of that Class 8, Radiant Saint Master from the ancient times. He'll definitely reach Class 8 in the future." As the name spread through the people present, it immediately caused a commotion, where the crowd buzzed with discussions. Zartilos stared indifferently at Jian Chun, and said with a deep voice, "Yang Yutian, is that beast of antiquity currently making a breakthrough yours?" Jian Chun looked at Zartilos. Although he had never seen him, he was familiar with the 8 clans standing behind him. As a result, he knew very well that the person speaking was definitely from the Tsar family from how they stood, and that his status was not low in the family. The matter of being targeted by the 2 great assassination organizations in the City of God quickly flashed through Jian Chen's mind. It led to a sliver of coldness in his eyes, which he then said icily, "Correct, the magical beast indeed belongs to me. Everyone, please stay a certain distance away to not interrupt the breakthrough. Otherwise, you are my enemy." The surrounding people hesitated slightly. A portion of them immediately retreated to a certain distance, clearly unwilling to provoke Yang Yutian. Kazdada, the person in charge of the Kazda clan, hesitated slightly, before clasping his hands at Jian Chun. "Since Brother Yang Yutian's beast of antiquity is making a breakthrough, we, the Kazda clan, will not be interrupting." With that, Kazdada retreated to a distance of 2 kilometers away with his group to look on. They clearly did not intend on going against Jian Chun. A beast of antiquity? Who'd have thought that the cub's a beast of antiquity, and it's already reached Class 6. Deep envy appeared in Yun Tian's eyes. Beasts of antiquity were extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent, but once they matured they were extremely powerful, known to be invincible among the same class. If there was a beast of antiquity accompanying a person, the person would be able to act with no regard to rules at all on the entire continent in the future. Yun Tian just never thought that the always sleeping white tiger on Jian Chen's shoulder was a beast of antiquity, which made him feel both admiration and envy. "Yang Yutian, I'm extremely curious about that beast of antiquity making a breakthrough in the cave. Why don't you let us in and have a look?" Zartilos stared at Jian Chun with a smile, yet his eyes flashed with cold light. Jianshan replied. The white tiger is currently amidst a breakthrough. Whoever approaches the cave will become my enemy, and I will use all my strength to kill them. No one is an exception. Perhaps intentional or otherwise. Jianshan Tian. Yang Yutian, you're too cocky. Do you know who you're talking to? Even the president of the union can't protect you when you've offended the Tsar family. A middle-aged man behind Zartilos yelled out. Jianshan scanned past all the people coldly, before sitting down cross-legged at the entrance of the cave. He said, I will kill those who come within a radius of 30 meters mercilessly. The group from the Tsar family all became sheet white in the face. They were actually threatened by someone younger than them, which was a burning insult. Yet Zartilos smiled even wider from anger. I want to see if you, Yang Yutian, are really as strong as the rumors describe you. The surrounding radiant saint force immediately began to gather quickly, condensing a suit of silvery white radiant saint armor on Zartilos. In his left hand, a radiant saint shield also formed. Radiant saint armor. The 20-odd people behind Zartilos all called out together. With a powerful light enveloping them all, they all donned radiant saint armors. Zartilos gave out a sneer, before taking a step forwards, directly towards the cave. Behind him, all the people followed close, each with cautious expressions. Many of them had already condensed radiant saint swords ready for battle. Just when Zartilos crossed the 30-meter boundary, a powerful sliver of killing intent flashed across Jianshan's eyes. He said with a cold smile, I just happen to be lacking in some points. Since you've come delivering them obediently, I won't hold back. Several radiant saint swords condensed before Jianshan at the same time, shooting towards the people at the very front of the group like lightning bolts. Radiant saint sword. Go. The reaction of the Tsar family members were not slow either. Just when Jianshan struck out, the swords before them also flew out, colliding with Jianshan's radiant saint swords. Chapter 772. Yang Yutian's Strength 3. With a huge boom, the radiant saint swords collided like a white ball of flame exploding. The thick radiant saint force turned into a ball of dazzling light, illuminating the entire space. The sharpened radiant saint force wreaked havoc in the surroundings like a storm, kicking up stones, creating a dust clouds. Several boulders exploded, sending shrapnel flying in all directions. The 20-odd radiant saint masters all used their radiant saint armors and the radiant saint shields to receive the havoc-wreaking energy ripples and loose flying rubble. Jianshan grabbed at the empty space with a hand, and a huge radiant saint shield quickly formed. He then placed it behind him, blocking the entrance of the cave, to prevent the energy ripples from surging into the cave and affecting the white tiger. He did not have any protection for himself, allowing the violent energy to smash wildly against his body. Jianshan's body was like a pillar separating the sky and the earth. Not only did the violent energy ripples fail to harm him when they collided with his body, it did not even shake him. As the group of people from the Tsar family fended off the energy ripples of radiant saint force, Jianshan had already extended his two hands. With a soft murmur he said, Radiant saint sword. Suddenly, the energy ripples traveling towards Jianshan came to a sudden halt. It became gentle under the gazes of disbelief from countless radiant saint masters. It quickly condensed into 9 radiant saint swords under Jianshan's forceful control. Swish, swish, swish. With 9 sounds of piercing air, the 9 swords all transformed into streaks of white light, shooting towards 3 radiant saint masters in 3 waves. The first wave destroyed their radiant saint shields, and the second wave soon followed. It obliterated the radiant saint armor they wore, knocking them flying as they spurted blood, while the final, third wave of radiant saint swords arrived, piercing through the people's chests like knives through hot butter. Arg! The 3 people could not help but call out in great pain. Blood spurted from their wounds, dyeing their white clothes a bloody red. In the very moment the swords entered their bodies, an extremely sharp radiant saint force residue began to wreak havoc wildly inside their bodies, attacking all signs of life. If they were fighters, they could at least extinguish it with the vast saint force within them. Too bad they were radiant saint masters. Radiant saint force had extremely powerful regenerative abilities, but it was unable to remove the sharp radiant saint force in their bodies. Just as the three of them were overwhelmed by shock, three giant pillars of light descended from the sky, enveloping their bodies and taking them away. In just a flash, Zartilos' group had lost 3 Class 6, Radiant Saint Master. Zartilos' complexion darkened immediately as a result, while his expression was extremely ugly. He had learned long ago that Yang Yutian was very powerful, but he had never thought that he would be this strong, killing 3 Radiant Saint Masters so easily. Yang Yutian, how dare you injure the people of the Tsar family? Zartilos cried out. Yang Yutian's strength astounded him, but he felt no fear within the artifact's space, since it was impossible for his life to be endangered there. And even if he did leave the Saint artifact, he had the entire Tsar family supporting him. Yang Yutian was someone the Tsar family needed to eliminate anyway, so Zartilos did not fear offending him at all. All those present witnessed Jianchen easily slaughtering 3 Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters. It stunned them all, while various sounds of exclamations appeared unendingly. Not only is he completely unharmed from the group attack of over 20 Radiant Saint Masters, he even killed off 3 of them in return instantly. Is this Yang Yutian's strength? This Yang Yutian is just too powerful. The rumors are indeed true. Looks like it's true that Yang Yutian killed over 30 Heaven Saint Masters on Fragrance River. He really does have that strength. This Yang Yutian is undebatably the strongest below Class 7. With such strength, probably even Kara Liwei isn't his opponent. Members of the Tsar family, don't think any of you will be placing within the top 10 in this competition. Jianchen roared at the sky. The surrounding Radiant Saint force began to surge quickly, gathering towards Jianchen at an unbelievable speed. Afterwards, under Jianchen's full control, he shot Radiant Saint swords towards the group of people, one after another. Zartilos' expression became stern. They worked together and began an intense battle with Jianchen. Due to the lesson earlier, they no longer dared to be careless even in the slightest, all using all they had to attack. Radiance burst. Jianchen roared. Countless droplets condensed in front of him, before spraying towards the surrounding members of the Tsar family. Not only did it repel their swords, it even greatly damaged the Radiant Saint shields protecting them. The light from the shields quickly dulled, while 2 even broken. The sky full of droplets directly collided with their bodies, punching white dents in the Radiant Saint armor they wore. This radiance burst is so powerful. Witnessing it, a few Radiant Saint Masters spectating the battle remarked dumbfoundedly. Probably only Yang Yutian's radiance burst can be this powerful. An old man in the crowd mumbled. Jianchen used the radiance burst to keep the people of the Tsar family at bay, before condensing 9 more dazzling Radiant Saint swords. He shot them at another 3 people in the group. With 3 cries of pain, 3 more people had their chests punctured by Radiant Saint swords, before being taken away by the power of the Saint artifact, dropping out of the competition. In the blink of an eye, the original 20-odd people of the Tsar family and the 8 great clans decreased by 6. Only a dozen or so people remained, still embroiled in an intense battle against Jianchen. Zartilos suddenly turned around and looked at Yin Tian. He bellowed, "Yin Tian, hurry up and do it! What are you waiting for?" Hearing that, a light flickered through his eyes. Yin Tian displayed an expression of hesitance. Jianchen's strength had greatly exceeded what he had anticipated. Without even using the 3 great arts, he was so strong, absolutely unstoppable. If he did cast the 3 great arts, who could be his opponent? Yin Tian hesitated for a small moment, before a sliver of determination appeared in his eyes. He thought, I can only go all out this time if I want to become president in the future. Also, Kara Liwei should be arriving very soon. When they come, we'll have the ability to resist even if Yang Yutian casts the 3 great arts. Making up his mind, Yin Tian moved immediately. He quickly donned a suit of Radiant Saint armor, before condensing a Radiant Saint shield in front of him. Sensing Yin Tian's actions, the cold light in Jianchen's eyes shone. He growled, "Senior Yin Tian, you dare to move against me. Yang Yutian, you can't blame your senior. You can only blame that you appeared at a very wrong time. This time, senior needs to prevent you from placing in the top 10 no matter what." Yin Tian said gruffly. With a swing of his hand, a radiant saint sword immediately condensed, shooting towards Jian Chun with lightning speed. Jian Chun condensed a radiant saint sword in return, smashing the one from Yin Tian. He said expressionlessly, "Then don't blame me for being merciless. Senior Yin Tian, you won't be placing within the top 10 no matter what this time." Yin Tian's complexion darkened and he yelled out coldly, "Yang Yutian, I must admit that you are very strong, but it's still too early for you to say that." As soon as he finished what he was saying, Yin Tian suddenly turned towards the group of people behind him and cried out, "Everyone, when are you going to move? After the deed is done, I'll accept a request from everyone, no one excluded." As soon as Yin Tian finished speaking, another 30-odd people stepped forwards from the crowd of spectators behind. One of them looked towards Yin Tian. "Yin Tian, I hope you keep your word." Throwing out that, the person directly participated in the group attack against Jian Chun. The other people also entered the group fight. In the blink of an eye, those surrounding and attacking Jian Chun multiplied from a dozen or so to 4 dozen or so, greatly increasing Jian Chun's pressure. The situation was going downhill, yet there was not even a sliver of bewilderment on Jian Chun's face. Suddenly, Jian Chun's eyes glowed and with a finger pointing towards the sky, he cried out, "Judgment Sword!" Hearing the 2 words, all the people attacking Jian Chun changed greatly in expression. "We can't let him cast the arte no matter what. Hurry up and interrupt it." Zartilos cried out. Radiant Saint Sword shot from his hand constantly at lightning speed, not at Jian Chun, but at the ever-condensing shape of a sword above him. Just as the swords approached the shape, they exploded with a loud bang, turning into violent ripples of energy which disturbed the condensation of the sword. Afterwards, the expressions of the 50-odd Radiant Saint Masters all reached a rare sternness. They all attacked the sword shape corporealized above Jian Chun without pause. With the endless booms, the sword shape above Jian Chun began to tremble from the consecutive attacks, before slowly disappearing. Jian Chun's Judgment Sword was disrupted during the charge-up phase. "Junior, I'd like to see how you would repel us without the advantage of the 3 great arts." Yin Tian laughed aloud. He was complacent, and he seemed to have already seen the light of victory. Chapter 773, Yang Yutian's Strength 4. Jian Chun looked at Yin Tian, and a sliver of mockery appeared in his eyes. "So what if you can stop me from casting the 3 great arts? You're able to harm me just because you can stop me? Not even powerful saint rulers can harm me, let alone class 6, Radiant Saint Masters that aren't even as strong as me." With a flash of white light, over 30 Radiant Saint swords already flew in from all directions as Jian Chun spoke. It cut off any direction Jian Chun could dodge in. "You try to harm me with mere Radiant Saint swords." Jian Chun roared. This time, he did not dodge, and just stood there with his arms open, welcoming the swords to strike him. A faint layer of gold light encased Jian Chun from the primordial god silk. As soon as the swords came in contact with the faint layer of light, they actually began to disappear at a visible rate, turning into nothing in the blink of an eye. All the Radiant Saint force was absorbed by the silk. Seeing that, Yin Tian's originally confident face immediately darkened. He stared at the layer of gold light on Jian Chun with deep envy. He knew that this was definitely due to the protective treasure Jian Chun wore. "If I have this golden silk mail, then the disadvantage of having a frail body of being a Radiant Saint Master will cease exist. Even if I face up against saint rulers, I will have no need to be afraid. I must obtain it." Yin Tian gritted his teeth, already making up his decision that he needed to obtain it no matter what. This defensive treasure really is powerful. No wonder it's something that can block an attack from saint rulers. It actually nullified over 30 Radiant Saint swords from class 6, Radiant Saint Masters so easily. Zartilos eyed Jian Chun in interest, and he too revealed unconcealable greed in his eyes. He thought, "I must obtain this piece of mail. If I wear it, I'll even be able to escape against saint rulers. Is this Yang Yutian's defensive treasure? It's so powerful." All of the people from the Kazda clan were astounded, and they all eyed Jian Chun avariciously. They wouldn't be the only ones. Even saint rulers would be tempted by such a powerful treasure. The primordial god Silk absorbed over 30 radiant saint swords as soon as they touched it. All the people present to stare wide-eyed and tongue-tied at the faint layer of golden light around Jianshen as a result. They were all in disbelief. However, Jianshen did not halt his movements because of this. With a thought, 9 radiant saint swords condensed and shot off towards the 3 closest radiant saint masters. It heavily injured them, removing them from the competition by the energy of the artifact. The painful cries from the 3 people startled everyone present, returning them to their senses. Shortly afterwards, the people attacking him all shot backwards, pulling far away from Jianshen. Don't be afraid, everyone. After blocking our attacks, the golden armor on Yang Yutian will definitely consume some energy. Let's all attack him and expend the energy of the male. When the protection is gone, no matter how superhuman Yang Yutian is, he can't resist against the attacks of so many people. Yin Tian called out, before swinging his hand. Another sword condensed, shooting towards Jianshen. Jianshen's gaze towards Yin Tian was filled with powerful killing intent. 9 radiant saint swords immediately appeared before him, forming a straight line as they shot towards Yin Tian in a streak of light. We can't let Yang Yutian take us out one by one. Everyone move together and destroy his swords. We'll expend his energy and maintain ours. He definitely can't last too long facing so many of us all by himself. Zartilos also cried out, before immediately condensing 3 radiant saint swords. They shot out towards the 9 swords targeting Yin Tian with lightning speed, destroying 3 of them. Meanwhile, perhaps due to Zartilos' instigation, the surrounding radiant saint masters all condensed radiant saint swords, or radiant saint shields to assist Yin Tian. Under the teamwork of over 50 radiant saint masters, Jianshen's 9 swords were all nullified mid-air, without harming Yin Tian at all. Jianshen's complexion darkened slightly. None of the surrounding 50-odd people were weak. If they did work together like this, he would struggle to kill any of them, unless he successfully casted one of the 3 great arts, or exposed his identity as a fighter. He could not expose his fighter identity, while the 3 great arts were the strongest radiant arts that could be cast by Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters. Even though Jianshen could cast them with some difficulty, the arts would be incomplete, and hence he would need a period of time to charge up. Yet, the arts could be disrupted very easily during this period. As a result, Jianshen struggled to kill the 50 people with only his strength as a Radiant Saint Master. Brother Yang Yutian, let me help you out. Suddenly, a long roar reverberated from the distance. Several streaks of light approached the area from the distance. The person leading the group was Quan Yukai, who had not appeared ever since they were separated at the ferry. Quan Yukai rode a white cloud, leading several companions as he quickly approached Jianshen. His gaze was resolute. This time, no matter who the opponent is, I, Quan Yukai, will never give up. It'll be a great deed once I save Brother Yang Yutian from the dangers. Who knows, he might even actually pass on the 3 great arts to me. For the 3 arts, I'll give all I have. Seeing how reinforcements had come for Jianshen, both Zartilos and Yin Tian immediately darkened in complexion. Zartilos cried out, "This is the Zar family's matters. Please do not participate if you have nothing to do with it. Otherwise, you will become enemies with the Zar family of the City of God." Yin Tian was unwilling to fall behind Zartilos. He also called out, "And my Radiant Saint Master Union. If there is anyone who wants to interfere, you will become enemies with my union." Fuck, why read the background of Yang Yutian's enemies only getting more powerful? Last time it was the 8 clans, and now it's the head of the 8 clans, and I even need to offend the Radiant Saint Master Union. Hurrying over, Quan Yotsai's expression changed slightly. Shortly afterwards, a sliver of doubt appeared in his eyes. No, Yang Yutian is the disciple of the president, so it's impossible to become an enemy of the union. The speaker earlier seems to be the second disciple of the president. Oh, I understand now. Quan Yukai suddenly reached an understanding. He laughed aloud in reply. Yin Tian, just you is not enough to represent the entire union. Brother Yang Yutian, let me help you. I definitely will not just watch the future successor of the union fall, to the dirty schemes of others. You're the future president of the Union. You can't be defeated by these people. Yin Tian's complexion became extremely dark. What Quan Yukai had said crossed his bottom line, something he struggled to bear with. Quan Yukai, there are still many days to come. Yin Tian will remember what happened today. Yin Tian said with gritted teeth. Yin Tian, you dare to speak so arrogantly, and dare to work against the future president of the Union. Don't you think that you'll be able to stay in the Union for much longer? Quan Yukai himself was a stubborn and proud man. Although he feared power, he did not dread it. He seemed to have already accepted the fact that Jian Chun would become the future president. So he did not hold back at all when he spoke. Quan Yukai, you're looking to die. Yin Tian flew into a flurry of anger. He actually gave up his attack on Jian Chun and shot at Quan Yukai, embroiling in a battle with him very quickly. The Radiant Saint Masters who followed Quan Yukai stood far away. They did not enter the battle, clearly unwilling to be dragged into the situation. Yin Tian was not weak. He was a person within the top 10 Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters, and could fend off several experts of the same class without much difficulty. With his departure, the force of the group against Jian Chun immediately decreased by 20%, removing a great amount of pressure from Jian Chun. Jian Chun took advantage of the situation. Using the primordial god silk to block all the attacks, he swiftly targeted several people, and more Radiant Saint swords quickly condensed. In the blink of an eye he killed another 4 of them, causing them to be taken away by the artifact's energy from the competition. Yin Tian, hurry up and come back. Zartilos' expression changed slightly. If this were to continue, the 50 Radiant Saint Masters on his side would be defeated one by one sooner or later. Yin Tian's complexion changed slightly. He noticed the situation, but he needed to keep Quan Yukai busy. Although Quan Yukai was not among the 10 great Radiant Saint Masters, he was extremely powerful and strong enough to challenge those within the top 10. The situation would only worsen if he charged in and heavily injured people in the group. At this moment, Yin Tian seemed to sense something. Using a Radiant Saint shield to block Quan Yotsai's attacks, he turned around and looked into the distance. He saw another few people quickly approach the area. The person leading was a beauty in her 20s, who possessed an appearance that could outshine the moon and cause fish to drown. Yin Tian immediately became overjoyed. He called out hurriedly, Miss Caroliway just happens to come at the right time. Quickly help out Zartilos, and the other to handle Yang Yutian. After it's done, Yin Tian will definitely not forget the conditions he has mentioned. Those who came just happened to be the people from the Kara clan, led by Caroliway. They charged straight at Jian Chun. Seeing the reinforcements from the Kara clan, the people who battled Jian Chun immediately relaxed slightly. Even a sliver of a relaxed expression appeared on Zartilos' face. He knew extremely well just how strong Caroliway was. If Yang Yutian was ignored, Caroliway was the strongest below Class 7, the absolute overlord among Class 6. Chapter 774. A strike from a Saint King Caroliway directly charged into the battle with the Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters from her clan, all with Radiant Saint armors and 1.5 meter wide Radiant Saint shields on their left arms. Jian Chun furrowed his eyebrows and suddenly raised his head to eye Caroliway. A cold light flickered in his eyes, but shortly afterwards his pupils constricted. A weird smile appeared on his face, and under his full strength attacks, another 3 people were taken away by the power of the Saint artifact. Caroliway, hurry up and attack Yang Yutian with all you've got. Waste his energy. Zartilos bellowed. He could already vaguely feel that they couldn't last any longer. If more of his own people were killed by Yang Yutian, he would definitely be able to escape. Caroliway remained silent for the entire journey. She flew directly at Zartilos and cried out, "Kill!" The 6 members behind Caroliway and herself all condensed Radiant Saint swords and shot them out with lightning speed. However, the swords did not fly towards Jian Chun, but instead targeted Tsar family and the 8 clans, with Zartilos himself receiving Caroliway's personal attacks. The sudden change in the situation caused all the people from the Tsar family to vary in expression. They never thought that the people of the Kara clan would move against them, yet it was already too late for them to do anything in defense. Being caught off guard, they were struck by the swords from the experts from the Kara clan. With 7 loud booms, 7 experts of the Tsar family were heavily injured, with Zartilos included. Their radiant saint armor shattered, which caused them to fly backwards as they vomited blood. Karaliwei, what are you doing? Yin Tian, currently battling Quan Yukai, was greatly shocked and turned sheet white. He gave out a worried cry. Karaliwei was something extremely important. Her existence would determine exactly which direction victory would sway. If she helped Yang Yutian, their plans this time would be an utter failure. Karaliwei, what are you trying to do? Zartilos stood up with a sheet-white face. A trail of blood ran from his corner of mouth, while his face was so white that it was terrifying. Karaliwei's strength was greater than him, so the unexpected attack directly heavily injured him. Karaliwei ignored Zartilos. She looked towards Jianchen and called out, Yang Yutian, I Karaliwei, represent the Kara clan in lending a helping hand. Karaliwei, you broke your word. You clearly agreed to help me handle Yang Yutian. From far away, Yin Tian roared from the edge of insanity. His voice was filled with unwillingness and rage. Karaliwei was not angered, and instead he laughed gently. Yin Tian, you really are confused. I've only agreed for you to lead us to find Yang Yutian, not to assist you in dealing with him. Karaliwei, you. Yin Tian was absolutely exasperated and burned with the fury of rage, but he failed to find the words. In the end, he only roared out in anger. Karaliwei, I hope you don't regret it. Yin Tian's eyes were bloodshot, and extremely unwilling to accept the situation. They were just about to succeed, but he never thought that Karaliwei would suddenly side with Jianchen, causing the victory that was originally his to become Jianchen's. Karaliwei's group immediately sucked away a majority of Jianchen's pressure. He clasped his hands towards Karaliwei. Miss Karaliwei, I will remember your kindness today, and I will definitely return the favor. Karaliwei smiled happily. Yang Yutian, I'm taking great risks to come help you out. I hope that you won't forget what I've done for you today. Jianchen did not continue. He quickly retreated, before extending a finger at the sky, and with a powerful voice, Judgment Sword. This was the second time Jianchen was casting the Judgment Sword. The surrounding radiant saint force began to gather quickly, soon forming the shape of a huge sword above Jianchen. Hurry up and stop him. You can't let him successfully cast it. Zartilos endured his heavy injuries and cried out, before condensing a radiant saint sword at Jianchen with some difficulty. Zartilos, do you think I'm invisible? With a high-pitched voice and the shake of a hand, Karaliwei shot out a radiant saint sword to block Zartilos' attack. Afterwards, the 6 radiant saint masters of the Kara clan all used their full strength to cover Jianchen, earning him some precious time. There was no longer anybody who could get in the way of condensing the Judgment's sword this time. It allowed Jianchen to cast it successfully. Immediately, a powerful pressure pervaded the surroundings. The terrifying ripples of energy within the sword seemed to possess the power of destroying the world, causing all those present to be absolutely astounded. Crap, retreat! The people surrounding Jianchen all moved backwards in shock. The people of the Tsar family were no exception either. Zartilos' complexion became ugly. He stared at the huge sword above Jianchen with a dark complexion, with deep envy burning in his eyes. Shortly afterwards, he no longer bothered to deal with Karaliwei, retreating quickly. Jianchen narrowed his eyes, immediately locking onto the group of people from the Tsar family. Controlling the sword with his mind, it chopped towards the people with the strength of lightning. As the sword cut through the air, it left behind a trail of magnificent white light, while its speed also reached the utmost limit. In the moment the sword lashed out, the targeted radiant saint masters felt like they were trapped by an invisible force, unable to move at all. They could only watch helplessly as the sword chopped down. The people were frightened to the point where all their blood had drawn from their faces. Facing the huge sword, not only did they fail to dodge, they did not even have a single thought of resisting. The vast size and power of the sword had completely obliterated the final line of defense in their minds. They felt extremely close to death. In the crucial moment of life or death, several huge pillars of light appeared, taking them away. As for the sword, it continued onwards with no decrease in power, and struck the ground heavily. Boom! With the powerful sound, the entire ground began to shake violently. The sword chopped out a crack several meters wide, and over 10 meters deep, extending up to a kilometer in length. God damn it, why is Yang Yutian's judgment sword so powerful? Witnessing it, blood also drained from Yin Tian's face, who was caught in a fight with Quan Yukai. He soon gave up on fight altogether, fleeing. The plan to handle Yang Yutian is an absolute failure. If this continues, there's only death. If I don't go now, there won't be any more chances to flee. Yin Tian thought. The surging energy hung mightily in the sky. Under Jian Chen's control, the huge sword turned into a streak of white light, shooting towards Zartilos' group. Even though Zartilos' complexion was dark, he did not become alarmed and bewildered. He only took out a thumb-sized piece of jade from his bosom and sneered at Jian Chen. Yang Yutian, you definitely won't succeed today. This piece of jade was gifted to me from an ancestor of my Tsar family, and it contains a blow from him. Even if you have that treasure protecting you, you won't be able to resist against the attack of a Saint King. With that, Zartilos allowed a drop of his blood to fall on the stone without any hesitation. Immediately, a terrifyingly powerful pressure originated from the stone. The world seemed to shake before this pressure, while the surrounding radiant Saint Masters all felt like a boulder pressed against their chests. They could not help but spurt out a mouthful of blood, shooting backwards in retreat. The piece of jade was the final trump card from the Tsar family to prevent Jian Chen from reaching Class 7. It would not be used if it were not for a critical moment, but currently, Jian Chen was nothing less than the threat from the current president for the Tsar family. Once Jian Chen successfully reached Class 7, he would become an extremely great obstacle to the Tsar family's plans of taking over the Union. Jian Chen's pupils constricted abruptly. His expression became stern for the first time, and he bellowed, "This is the power of a Saint King." Chaotic force began to surge turbulently from his chaotic Naiden, filling up every corner of Jian Chen's body and pushing his chaotic body to the limit. At the same time, the huge judgment sword gave up on attacking others, and instead rushed directly at Zartilos under Jian Chen's control, hoping to prevent Zartilos from releasing the Saint King's power. Haha, Yang Yutian, it's all too late. Before the ancestors' power, even the Saint artifact won't be able to protect you. Zartilos laughed aloud. The surging energy from the piece of jade condensed into a huge, 3-meter-long finger, before making a pointing gesture at Jian Chen. With the finger's gesture, time seemed to stop and space seemed to freeze. In that very moment, the finger seemed like the only thing in the world, and anything colors before the finger became dull. The judgment sword turned into nothingness as it met the finger's gesture, disappearing into the air without even ripples of energy. An invisible strand of world force passed through where the judgment sword was and blasted through the defense of the primordial god Silk, striking Jian Chen's chest heavily. Jian Chen could not resist at all before the finger. The finger was a strike from a Saint King, containing all the abilities of a Saint King. It locked up his presence, chained up his body, and restricted him of any room to escape. Spurt! Jian Chen sprayed out a mouthful of blood at the sky. His clothes had already disintegrated, revealing the golden silk mail, made from the primordial god Silk. Currently the armor had already become dull and without light, as if it had consumed all of its energy. Jian Chen shot backwards like a cannonball, colliding heavily with the rock face behind him. With a great boom, the entire mountain range trembled gently. Jian Chen was already deeply embedded in the depths of the mountain, creating a 100-meter-long hole in the tough rock. Stuck within the mountain, Jian Chen constantly vomited blood. The strength of the Tsar family ancestor was much greater than the king from the Gilligan clan. With just a finger, not only did it destroy the defense of the primordial god Silk, but it even broke his chaotic body, turning his inner organs and ribs into smithereens. If it were not for the primordial god Silk nullifying a part of the force, it was extremely likely for him to be even more heavily injured. Chapter 775. Roar of the Beast God. Sartilos' piece of jade contained a single strike from a Saint King. After the attack, the huge finger disappeared, but the effects from it were massive. Not only did it heavily injure Jian Chun, even the ground within a radius of 100 meters sank by a meter. This all still occurred despite the fact that the Saint King's energy was extremely concentrated, which did not leak out in the slightest. If all the power of the finger was released, nothingness would be all that remained within the area of sunken ground. No one would have been able to escape death. The surrounding people all stood stupefied, stunned by the might of a Saint King's strike. They were not the targets, but it left behind an everlasting mark of shock in their hearts. Far away, Yun Tian also stopped fleeing. He was overwhelmed by surprise and remarked with a trembling voice, "Who would have thought that the ancestor of the Tsar family actually gave Zartilos an attack of his? Looks like they're even more determined to eliminate Yang Yutian than I am." Afterwards, a sliver of excitement appeared on his face, and he thought in joy. Yang Yutian must be dead no matter what this time. No matter how strong his defensive treasure is, it can't be enough to block a Saint King's blow. This defensive treasure definitely cannot end up in the hands of the Tsar family. With that, Yun Tian immediately gave up on his escape, rushing towards Jianshan as fast as he could. Yang Yutian, with a blow from the ancestor, you couldn't possibly survive even with your treasured mail. Just the force of collision is enough to turn you to smithereens. Your treasure is now the Tsar family's. Zartilos chuckled aloud, before quickly flying into the tunnel created by Jian Chen's body. He was certain that Jian Chen had fallen to his ancestor's attack, that even the saint artifact was not enough to protect him. Zartilos directly charged into the tunnel created when Jian Chen was knocked flying. 100 meters in, he finally found Jian Chen. Currently, Jian Chen was sheet white while his eyes were closed. He was already unconscious while the blood from his mouth had dyed the silkmail red. From now onwards, this treasure belongs to my Tsar family. I have the merit of killing Yang Yutian, and with my position in the family, the ancestor will definitely reward it to me. Surging joy and greed appeared in Zartilos' eyes as he knelt down and extended his hands towards the golden silkmail on Jianshan. Roar! Suddenly, an earth-shaking sound resounded. Its loudness reverberated through the entire region, actually extending outwards in all directions in the form of visible sound waves. The entire mountain range trembled violently from the roar. Thick cracks immediately appeared on the mountains that had stood for tens of thousands of years, spreading out like spiderwebs. It soon covered the entire mountain range, causing many mountains to directly collapse and fall apart. The ground shook violently, with huge cracks immediately crisscrossing the ground, where the terrifying sound waves passed by. Countless vegetation and trees turned to dust, scattering in the air. Even the misty white sky was affected greatly. The power of the roar was nothing below a full-powered strike from a saint ruler. With just a single roar, mountains collapsed and the ground cracked while the sky shook, as if it was the end of the world. Zartilos, who was just about to take Jianshan's silkmail, jerked suddenly. Soon afterwards his eyes dulled, instantly becoming lifeless. His entire body collapsed on the floor with a loud sound, as if he had lost all power to his body. The great roar shook Zartilos' soul directly, to the point it had dispersed, killing him instantly. The great roar seemed to be able to target specific people. All the radiant saint masters who attacked Jianshan together outside the cave also jerked, before their eyes dulled. In just a moment they went from standing to collapsed on the ground, following Zartilos' footsteps. The roar had dispersed their souls, killing them instantly. Even the power of the saint artifact was unable to prevent it. As for Karoliwei's group who assisted Jianshan, as well as the other people who watched on as bystanders, they too were greatly affected. All of them stared blankly at that moment, their minds already ceasing any thoughts. The powerful shockwaves of the roar deeply shook their soul, causing them to feel fear from the very depths of their existence. Arg! Suddenly, a painful cry appeared in the distance. It was Yin Tian's cry of pain, who was currently flying over on a white cloud from the distance. He clutched his head with his hands tightly, his face filled with pain. Soon after, he dropped out of the sky, landing heavily on the ground and snapping several bones in his body. As Yun Tian was further away, the killing force of the roar had already greatly decreased when it reached his ears. It only made him feel like his head was exploding, as if his very soul was being sliced up by someone. If he was where Zartilos was so close to the roar, his soul would have collapsed just like Zartilos, dying instantly. From the cave Jian Chun had defended, a huge 3-meter-tall and 9-meter-long white tiger emerged with its chest high, like a lord carrying the bearing of a king. On the back of the tiger was a pair of feathered, tightly furled snow-white wings, filled with nobility and sacredness, signifying that it was vastly different from others. The white tiger walked out of the cave with slow steps. Its gaze was locked onto Yun Tian, who was several kilometers away, and a powerful killing intent appeared in its eyes. Yun Tian endured the head-splitting pain as he stood up from the ground. He stared blankly at the huge tiger by the cave, and immediately understood where the earth-shaking roar originated from. He said with a trembling voice, "BBE, a beast of antiquity." Feeling the powerful killing intent from the white tiger, the very depths of Yun Tian's heart shivered. He was overwhelmed by fear as soon as he remembered the force of the white tiger's roar, and without any hesitation, he pulled out his ancient jade pendant from his bosom. He cried out, "I forfeit." As soon as he finished, a giant pillar of light fell from the sky and sucked Yun Tian away. Just as Yun Tian disappeared, the white tiger several kilometers away appeared right next to where he was standing before. With great strength seemingly capable of ripping open space, a paw of sharp claws swiped through, hitting only empty air. Roar! The white tiger gave out another earth-shaking roar at the sky. Its voice was filled with insuppressible rage. It immediately leapt high into the sky, directly catching up to Yun Tian, who was being pulled into the sky by the white light, unwilling to let him go. Sigh. At this moment, a helpless sigh appeared in the sky. Shortly afterwards, a huge palm quickly condensed, covering the sky and blotting out the sun. It created a wall in the sky, separating Yun Tian from the giant tiger. The tiger collided heavily with the palm blocking its way, immediately producing a thunderous sound. The powerful collision knocked the huge tiger backwards, while the giant palm remained where it was, unaffected at all. Roar! The white tiger looked at the sky in aggression, actually charging at the giant palm once again. However, Yun Tian had already disappeared from the artifact's space in the white light after it was obstructed the first time. Since he was gone already, the huge hand also turned back into nothingness, causing the white tiger to just hit empty air. The tiger gave out a roar of unwillingness. It shook the world with the aura of a beast god radiating from it. All the Class 7 and 8 magical beasts trapped within the artifact's space became stern, and even fear appeared in the depths of a few Class 7 magical beasts' eyes. A while later, the white tiger slowly calmed down. With a flash, it arrived before the tunnel that Jian Chun was embedded in with an unbelievable speed. It quickly shrunk smaller, before entering the tunnel with another flash. The tiger emerged from the tunnel with the unconscious Jian Chun in his mouth soon after. It eyed all the other Radiant Saint Masters with a glare filled with menace, before disappearing into the cave that Jian Chun had carved out. All the Radiant Saint Masters represent shivered from the white tiger's glance, and could not help but retreat a certain distance backwards. They were all sheet white, without a trace of blood in their face. The white tiger had just reached Class 6, yet its powerful aura caused people to even suspect it was Class 7 instead. When everyone slowly calmed down, they discovered that the people on the floor, unable to get up, were dead. It stunned them all, while their fear for the giant white tiger only increased. Within the cave, Jian Chun lay on the ground unconscious. Beside him was the tiger that had shrunken to a meter in size, who paced about anxiously and gave out deep growls from time to time. It seemed to be worrying for Jian Chun. At this very moment, the white tiger's gaze froze. It suddenly turned around and looked backwards, only to find that a white-robed, middle-aged man had appeared without a sound. The white tiger narrowed its eyes as it stared fixedly at the man. Hostility poured from its eyes. Somehow it seemed to know that the giant palm that had obstructed him before was from this man. The middle-aged man gave out a soft sigh. With a bitter face, it looked at the white tiger and said, Winged Tiger God. The Overlord is injured very heavily. Even though the Overlord's body is extremely tough, it'll take at least 2 or 3 days for him to recover. With my help, the Overlord can wake up very quickly. As he spoke, the man pointed with his finger. The origin energy of Radiant Saint Force shot out, directly entering Jian Chen's body. The origin energy of Radiant Saint Force was the energy of the Saint artifact itself, something that had an owner. It could be used to heal people, but it could not be absorbed and used by others. As the strand of origin energy entered Jian Chen's body, his heavy injuries began to heal at an unbelievable rate. In just a few short seconds, his destroyed organs were completely healed, and with another few more seconds his shattered bones slowly mended. Jian Chen was completely healed in the matter of a dozen or so seconds. The healing effect of the origin energy was something far beyond Radiant Saint Force. As he healed, the unconscious Jian Chen slowly woke up. He immediately discovered the adult-sized tiger and the artifact's spirit in the moment he opened his eyes. The artifact's spirit knelt on one knee and said earnestly, "Please forgive me, Overlord. Due to the ancient vow with Argenti, this one must ensure the safety of all competitors, which was why this one had prevented the Winged Tiger God's pursuit." When the several dozen competitors fell to the Winged Tiger God's previous roar, this one already broke the ancient vow once. This one absolutely cannot break it a second time, because once the vow is broken thrice, this one will cease to exist. Chapter 776. Calm before the storm. Jian Chen did not care about the artifact's spirit helping the competitors escape at all. He did not feel that the spirit was in the wrong. After all, protecting the competitors was the spirit's responsibility. Radiant Saint Masters were not as common as fighters, let alone Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters. They could not afford to lose any of them. Jian Chen stood up and carefully checked his entire body. When he discovered that all his wounds were already completely healed, a sliver of shock appeared in his heart. Although he was unconscious before, he knew exactly how bad all the wounds on his body were. Even with the terrifying regeneration of his chaotic body, these injuries would take at least a day or two to completely heal. Yet, though he clearly felt that it was less than half an hour ago that he was injured, his body was completely healed. It was quite unbelievable. Even Class 7, Radiant Saint Masters could not achieve such a godly speed of healing. After all, he had just received an attack from a Saint King. If it were not for the terrifying defense of his chaotic body, he would struggle to even survive an attack from a Saint Ruler. And if he did end up surviving, he would need to spend up to several years, or even decades to heal. At this moment, Jian Chen vaguely remembered that there was an extremely pure Radiant Saint Force that traveled through him while he was unconscious. He could not help but have a gleam of light flash through his eyes as he looked at the man. Artifact Spirit, was I healed using the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force? The Artifact Spirit nodded. Yes, Overlord. That was the Saint Artifact's origin energy. But unfortunately it's already been refined by this one, and no one else can use it. Otherwise, this one would be able to help Overlord in reaching Class 7. Although the Artifact Spirit was like a god within the artifact, it remained filled with dread and respect towards Jian Chen. Even though in his eyes Jian Chen was still very weak, because the Artifact Spirit had already been utterly terrified by the Sword Spirits, he did not dare to show any disrespect at all. How could the person who was referred to as Master by the Sword Spirits be someone ordinary? A sliver of disappointment appeared in Jian Chen's eyes. The Artifact Spirit soon left after being thanked. With the spirit's departure, the only people left in the cave was Jian Chen and the White Tiger. Jian Chen stood up and stared at the human-sized tiger with complicated emotions. In his eyes there was joy as he sighed emotionally. Xiao Bai, you're now much more formidable than before. The human-sized tiger was indeed much more formidable than before. He carried the air of a king, a respected lord of great status, someone who lead thousands upon thousands of horses and men. MRR. Xiao Bai gave out a deep growl. It rubbed its big head affectionately against Jian Chen's face. Even though it was Class 6 now, Jian Chen's status, as always, remained the same to it. Currently Xiao Bai seemed like a gentle little lamb, greatly different from the powerful, vicious beast that had dispersed the souls of several dozen radiant Saint Masters, pursued Yun Tian, and opposed the artifact's spirit. Jian Chen's gaze towards the tiger was filled with gentleness. Although Xiao Bai had only followed him for a few years, Jian Chen had watched the tiger grow to such a level from a cub who could not even walk. Their relationship was deep, like a father's and son's, much more complicated than what ordinary people could imagine. Jian Chen rubbed Xiao Bai's furry head before pulling out and donning a clean white robe from his space ring. He said, "Xiao Bai, the purpose we came here for isn't completed yet. Let's go deal with the proper business first. We can't just let people collect those points like this." With that, Jian Chen finished putting on his clothes. He walked towards the exit of the cave. MRRR. The white tiger's large body shrank quickly, becoming the size of a small cat once again. With a light leap, it landed solidly on Jian Chen's shoulder, lying there idly. Jian Chen smiled, before affectionately rubbing the white tiger's fist-sized head. He arrived outside. Currently it had only been half an hour since Jian Chen was injured, so the radiant Saint Masters that had gathered outside to look on had yet to fully disperse. No matter if it was Zartilos Saint King strike, or the roar of a beast of antiquity ending the souls of several dozen people, the whole matter had dealt an extremely heavy blow to their hearts. The moment Jian Chen emerged from the cave and appeared before everyone, all the people gathered outside shuddered. They unconsciously retreated a distance and stared at Jian Chen like they were staring at a monster. Their faces were filled with disbelief. None of them could believe that after taking a strike from a Saint King, not only did Jian Chen survive, but he had even recovered completely so quickly. He seemed like he was completely fine, as if the attack had not hurt him at all. Well, why's this? Jian Chen was clearly heavily injured. Even if he didn't die, it definitely would have been unpleasant. How did he fully recover so quickly? Currently, similar thoughts appeared in the minds of all the people. Even Kara Li Wei and Quan Yukai, who hurried over from the distance, were stunned by this. However, even more gazes gathered on the currently cat-sized white tiger on Jian Chen's shoulder. Due to the white tiger's gentle-looking appearance on Jian Chen's shoulder, all the radiant Saint Masters present could not help but feel envy and admiration in their heart. They all sighed that Yang Yutian was just too lucky to actually be so deeply connected with a beast of antiquity. Jian Chen looked around before quickly focusing on the specks of white light floating in the sky. The specks of white light were the points from the radiant Saint Masters who had ganged up on Jian Chen. After having their souls obliterated by the white tiger's roar, all of the points they had collected naturally burst out. There were over 1,000 points. The points floated in the air, but no one dared to go collect it. Glancing over the points floating in the air, Jian Chen revealed a sliver of joy. He did not hold back at all, immediately collecting some of them. Very soon Jian Chen's points exceeded 700, a value high enough to stably stand within the top 10. Jian Chen stopped his collection of points. Looking towards a section of the crowd, he cried out, "Quan Yukai!" Hearing his name being called out, Quan Yukai involuntarily jerked, before immediately flying out of the crowd with a dazzling smile. At first he glanced over the white tiger on Jian Chen's shoulder in fear, before looking at Jian Chen with a smile that stretched from ear to ear. "Brother Yang Yutian, I never thought you'd still remember Quan Yukai. It's overwhelming me with honor. If there is anything Brother Yang Yutian needs me for, I will definitely give it all I have." Although Jian Chen's friendship with Quan Yukai was not very deep, Quan Yukai had come out to help him fend off enemies under the risk of offending both the Tsar family and Yun Tian. No matter what, Jian Chen could not forget this, even though he knew that Quan Yukai had done it for the 3 great radiant arts. "Quan Yukai, I already have enough points. Take the rest of it, it should be enough to get you into the top 10. Jian Chen said indifferently. Quan Yukai was overjoyed. After thanking him many times, he immediately began to collect the remaining points in a flurry. As for the radiant Saint Masters that had followed Quan Yukai here, they all wore expressions of regret. If they had known earlier that the remuneration would be so great, they definitely would not have chosen to just watch on. "Yang Yutian, your injuries?" Kara Li Wei stared at Jian in both surprise and bewilderment. Even though it was happening in front of her eyes, She struggled to believe that Jianchen could recover so quickly from a Saint King's strike. Jianchen clasped his hands at Caroline. "Thank you for Miss Caroline's concern. My injuries have already completely healed, and they're no longer a problem. I definitely will not forget Miss Caroline's kindness in helping out earlier." Afterwards, all the Radiant Saint Masters dispersed one by one, but Jianchen did not leave. Instead, he returned to the cave, waiting quietly for the competition to end and the artifact space to close up. Now that he had collected enough points, placing in the top 10 was something set in stone. He did not need to continue to fight with people for mere points. Quan Yukai did not leave either. Instead, he stayed behind with Jianchen shamelessly, but he ended up becoming Jianchen's manpower. Under Jianchen's orders, Quan Yukai buried the several dozen Radiant Saint Masters who had been killed by the White Tiger's roar, while the space rings they carried all ended up with Jianchen. Caroline did not stay with Jianchen, and instead continued to pursue the remaining competitors, collecting their points. With all that had happened, Jianchen's name became even more well-known among the Radiant Saint Masters, and the matter about the Beast of Antiquity was naturally learned by everyone. He could anticipate that once the competition ended and all the competitors were sent out, the news of Yang Yutian's Beast of Antiquity would spread across the entire Holy Empire, and even to further lands in an extremely short amount of time. Jianchen did not do anything at all to stop this. This was because he knew that the identity of the Winged Tiger God would not be exposed so easily, due to the extremely low number of people who actually knew about the Winged Tiger God. In addition, the identity of a Beast of Antiquity was not necessarily bad for the White Tiger, as it helped it conceal its true identity. What really made Jianchen worry was how he was going to handle the Tsar family after leaving the artifact. Outside the artifact space, white light constantly flashed in the huge square outside the headquarters of the Radiant Saint Union in the City of God. With each flash, a person appeared in the empty square. These people were the competitors who had failed within the artifact space and were sent out by the artifact's energy. Chapter 777. Yun Tian's fear. The surroundings of the huge square outside the Radiant Saint Master Union headquarters was already filled with quite a lot of people. These people were waiting there since the artifact space opened 10 days ago. Most of them belonged to the clans of competitors, with even some seniors of the competitors present. The square flashed with white light from time to time, and at almost every moment competing Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters would be sent out. The people were all pale-faced and covered in blood without any exception. It was clear they had all experienced a big battle within the space. In a group of people at the edge of the square, a middle-aged man stood with a gloomy face behind an old man. He stared fixedly at the white light that flashed from time to time. Why hasn't that bastard come out yet? Did he perhaps escape from the first Miss's hands? The middle-aged man swore with a low voice, extremely angered. He was a member of the Kara clan, the same middle-aged man that was struck in the chest by Jianchen's Radiant Saint sword and sent out. Kara Fu, does the person you're talking about carry a snow-white beast cub with him? At this moment, the old man standing in front of him spoke. He stared at the man with bright eyes and an extremely stern expression. Kara Fu immediately became courteous before the old man. He said, "Elder Lu, that person was all alone without any magical beasts." Hearing that, Elder Lu relaxed slightly. "Then we will all wait here. I also want to see the young man that killed you." With that, the two people stayed there quietly. Time passed slowly and quietly. Suddenly, the empty square flashed a few more times and 3 Radiant Saint Masters appeared in it. They were pale-faced, and the clothes on their chests were already dyed with blood. However, they had already fully recovered from their injuries due to the artifact's power. They're from the Tsar family. Who would have thought that even people of the Tsar family would have been forced out? There aren't many people who dare to offend the Tsar family within the Holy Empire. Perhaps the Tsar family has begun fighting with the other 2 clans inside. As soon as the 3 people appeared, they were recognized by many people in and around the square, who all spoke in surprise. Several old men in tight clothes hurried to the 3 people. One of them said with a dark complexion, "What happened? How were you expelled with your strength? Did you fight with the people of the other two clans? Elder Hong, we met and were killed by Yang Yutian. One of the men said with a trembling voice while his eyes were filled with fear. Even under the group attack of so many people, Yang Yutian still managed to kill 3 of them. Yang Yutian's strength was just stunning. He knew that if they were not in the artifact, the 3 of them would already have died to Yang Yutian. Although the 3 of them did not speak loudly, none of the people present were weak. Their words were heard clearly by the people present, which caused many of them to shudder slightly in great admiration for Yang Yutian's courage. Going against the Tsar family was not something ordinary people could do. What about Tsar Telos and the others? Perhaps even with so many people, they weren't able to fend off Yang Yutian? Elder Hong's voice carried an endless amount of anger. Elder Hong, this Yang Yutian is just too powerful. We worked with the people of the 8 clans to handle him, yet we were still unable to achieve victory. A radiant Saint Master said, "You pieces of trash." Elder Hong was clearly enraged. At that moment, the square flashed with 3 white lights once again. Another 3 competitors were sent out of the space. When Elder Hong recognized the 3 people, his already overcast face turned even uglier as the 3 of them belonged to the Tsar family. I greet Elder Hong. Seeing the elder, the 3 people all clasped their hands to greet him with expressions of courtesy. Were you all also sent out by Yang Yutian? Elder Hong said with a cold voice. Hearing that, the 3 people looked at each other before all nodding with bitter faces. Elder Hong looked at one of the people and said gruffly, Cheng Jian, your strength is only less than those of the 10 great class 6, radiant saint masters. Who would have thought that even you weren't Yang Yutian's opponent? Just what is the situation in the artifact? Who's helping Yang Yutian? Elder Hong, this Yang Yutian's strength is very great. He could fight over 20 of us just by himself. The situation inside the space is not very good, and a beast of antiquity has appeared in the artifact. Cheng Jian said, What? A beast of antiquity? Elder Hong was rather surprised, while his eyes immediately shone with a light. He was not the only one. Hearing the words beast of antiquity, a sliver of light flashed through the eyes of quite a few people surrounding the square. Elder Hong, this beast of antiquity has already reached class 6, and Yang Yutian is its master. An old man beside Cheng Jian said. In his eyes was an unconcealable jealousy. A class 6 beast of antiquity that already has a master. Even with Elder Hong's ability to remain calm, he could not help but suck in a breath after hearing the news. A sliver of envy appeared in the very depths of his eyes. As for the surrounding people, they felt absolutely astounded. The news of Yang Yutian possessing a beast of antiquity that had already reached class 6 spread like wildfire, causing many people to turn green with greed. Beasts of antiquity were extremely rare magical beasts on the Tianyuan continent. They were richly endowed by nature and possessed extremely great fighting power, making them invincible among same-class beasts. Even king beasts were unable to match up to beasts of antiquity. Even one that had just reached class 6 was no weaker than a 5th cycle Heaven Saint Master, and even possessed the power to fight a 6th cycle Heaven Saint Master. An example would be Newbies, the silver-striped golden snake beast of antiquity. Just with its naturally endowed advantages it could, with its strength as a 3rd heavenly layer saint ruler, fight on equal ground with the 6th heavenly layer saint ruler. This was the terrifying aspect of beast of antiquities. Afterwards, there were another 3 flashes of white light. This time, the people were from the 8 clans of the City of God. Seeing that, Elder Hong's complexion became sheet white. He was driven so mad that he could no longer speak. He finally understood that Yang Yutian purposefully wanted to go against his Tsar family. If the people sent out were not from his Tsar family, they would be people from the subsidiary clans of his Tsar family. Soon afterwards came another flash of white. A pale-faced competitor was sent out by the artifact's energy. The competitor seemed to be in a horrible state and collapsed heavily on the ground. He spurted out a mouthful of blood and was clearly heavily injured. Elder Hong looked over solemnly. When he saw who the person was, his sheet-white face finally recovered slightly. A sneer formed on his lips. Yin Tian, who would have thought that even you'd be sent out? Yin Tian's face was extremely pale, while his eyes were filled with powerful fear. He immediately climbed up from the ground and ran towards the Union Castle with a face full of terror. Yin Tian? Isn't that Yin Tian? Who would have thought that even he's out? Yin Tian is the second disciple of the Union president. His talent's extremely great, and he has already reached an extremely strong level in his practice of radiant arts. He is among the top 10 Class 6 Radiant Saint Masters. I'd never thought he'd be sent out too. Seeing Yin Tian's horrible state and panic-stricken appearance, he seems to have been frightened by something. Just what did he encounter in the artifact space? Yin Tian's appearance caused the surrounding people to fall into a commotion of discussion once again. At that moment, a white bolt of light shot out from the castle. It arrived before Yin Tian. To no surprise, it was the Radiant Saint Master Union President. Yin Tian, what happened? Why are you so panic-stricken? The president's eyebrows were tightly furrowed as he spoke with a deep voice. He was extremely unhappy with Yin Tian's expression. Master, it's Yang Yutianbie, beast of antiquity. Yin Tian spoke with a trembling voice. Although the white tiger's roar was weakened due to the distance and did not wipe out his soul, it absolutely terrified Yin Tian, making him unable to speak clearly. With his eyebrows furrowed, the president mumbled to himself, "A beast of antiquity? Perhaps it's that little tiger always sleeping on Yang Yutian's shoulder." After pondering for a while, he glanced at the people from the Tsar family at the square. He said, "Yin Tian, you should return." The president of the Union did not even ask a single word about what happened between Yin Tian and Jianshen. He was able to tell with his experience in life. Yang Yutian, you really do make me feel more and more shocked. Not only did you kill off people from the Tsar family, you even have a Class 6 beast of antiquity accompanying you. You really have exceeded all my expectations. I just wonder if, with your talent, you're able to successfully reach Class 7 this time. The president spoke with a voice so soft that only he could hear. Shortly afterwards, he furrowed his eyebrows tightly again and sighed gently, "Though the Tsar family is a problem." At the same time, 5 figures shot through the sky outside the city of God. They quickly approached the city from somewhere far away. "We're almost at the city of God. This is one of the 7 capital cities of the Tianyuan continent, and has the ancient Tsar family guarding it. The Tsar family has a Saint King, and he's much more powerful than the Tiger King. We need to act carefully, and we must not provoke those clans there. Situ, don't worry. We know how we should act. We would never act so recklessly in the city of God like we did before. Let's keep a low profile and enter the city by foot." The 5 figures stopped 10 kilometers from the city before heading towards the city on foot. Even with the change in the way they traveled, their speed was not slow. With every step they traversed over 100 meters. The 5 of them successfully entered the city of God and quickly found an inn to settle down in. Currently, the 5 of them gathered in one room, sitting cross-legged in a circle. The entire room was covered up by a transparent barrier. "Situ, have you sensed Jianshen's presence? Is he still in the city of God?" An old man asked sternly. Old man Situ immediately closed his eyes, and only after half an hour did he open them again. He shook his head. "From the feeling of the blood, I've already confirmed that Jianshen's in the city of God, but I can't find his whereabouts now." Old man Situ said with furrowed eyebrows, "We don't have much time left. Although we can use a secret technique to hide our presence, we can't fool the 4 protectors of the Bloodsword sect. They'll catch up soon. We need to find Jianshen and finish the mission from the Tiger King as soon as possible. Don't worry, this is the city of God. With how dense their baleful force is, they won't be able to hide no matter what. I can guarantee you that once the 4 protectors come to the city, they'll immediately alarm the experts of the city of God. Even the ancestors of the Tsar family will be alarmed." An old man sneered. "You're right, though we should still speed up our operations. Otherwise something unexpected might happen again. We need to find Jianshen as soon as possible. How about this? We'll all go looking for information and see if we can find anything regarding Jianshen. It's a pity we don't know what Jianshen looks like. Otherwise, if we just drew a few pictures, it would be very easy to find his whereabouts." The 5 of them removed the barrier around the room and departed from the inn. Chapter 778. The Bloodsword sect arrives. Another 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. During this period, many competitors were sent out from the competition and brought to safety by the power of the Saint artifact. These people brought out the most recent news, causing all the people in the city of God to be astounded. The second disciple of the Radiant Saint Master Union president worked with over 20 clans of different sizes and gathered over 30 Class 6 Radiant Saint Masters to handle Yang Yutian alongside the Tsar family and the 8 clans, embroiling in an intense battle. Afterwards, the first young lady of the Kara clan, Kara Liwei, lead her own people to publicly stand against the Tsar family, helping out Yang Yutian when he was in danger. They helped him earn precious time to cast Judgment's Sword, one of the 3 great radiant arts, killing several people instantly and allowing a turn for the better in the situation. The moment Yang Yutian used the Judgment's Sword to reverse the tides of the battle, Zartilos used a Saint King's strike to heavily injure Yang Yutian and attempted to take his defensive treasure. In the end, over 40 Radiant Saint Masters that had grouped up against Yang Yutian had their souls wiped out by a great beast roar. They died within the artifact's space, as even the artifact's energy was unable to prevent it. Yun Tian then forfeited from fear, but was pursued by Yang Yutian's beast of antiquity. The beast was met by the artifact's obstruction, and while it attempted to resist, it was not powerful enough to prevent Yun Tian from escaping. Not long after that had happened, Yang Yutian, who should have been killed by the Saint King's strike, appeared before everyone unharmed, deeply astounding all those present. All the shocking news spread like wildfire. It was not only the competitors who were absolutely stunned, but the 3 great clans of the empire and the Radiant Saint Master Union were as well. Zartilos actually possessed a strike from a Saint King, given to him by his ancestor in the Tsar clan. The roar of the beast of antiquity dispersed the souls of over 40 Radiant Saint Masters, including Zartilos, and wiped them out. Even the power of the artifact was unable to prevent it. Meanwhile, Yang Yutian was actually completely fine after receiving the Saint King's attack, emerging completely unscathed. The shocking news rang through the minds of all those who heard it like thunder, completely stunning them. Zartilos actually died. He died in the artifact space. The competitors who attacked Jianshan together, people from my Tsar family and the 8 clans, have all died, shaken to death by a roar of a beast of antiquity. Just how powerful is this beast? It killed all those Class 6 Radiant Saint Masters with just a roar. Even Saint Rulers can't do that. And Yang Yutian, he received an attack from the ancestor, and he's not dead. How is this possible? Elder Hong of the Tsar family was no longer enraged, but rather completely stunned. His mind was blown by the news, struggling to believe that it was true. On the other side of the square, Elder Lu of the Kara clan also heard what happened in the Saint artifact clearly. After the initial shock, he revealed a smile of relief and mumbled, "The young First Miss has made a wise choice. This Yang Yutian is much more stronger than I imagined, and I never thought that his cub was actually a beast of antiquity, one that had already reached Class 6 with terrifying strength, no less. Unbelievable. Though this Yang Yutian seems to have brought some trouble to himself. The Radiant Saint Master Union's behind him, so it shouldn't be too bad. I presume the Tsar family does not dare to constrain the Union too much, otherwise they'll just be seeking death once the Union decides to work with the other 2 clans. Ai casted you muddled man. How did you forgo such a good chance to pull Yang Yutian to our side? Yet you chose to just stand by and watch on. You've missed such a rare and great opportunity. It's not like you don't know our clan's relationship with the Tsar family. We're going to start fighting sooner or later. Perhaps you were scared of provoking the Tsar family? You're just incompetent." An old man from the Kazda clan sighed, as he shook his head with a face filled with regret. Within the castle of the Radiant Saint Master Union, the president currently sat with the Grand Elder. They were both stern with their eyebrows furrowed. "I never thought that the beast cub accompanying Yang Yutian was a beast of antiquity. It'll be troublesome this time. The people from the Tsar family and the 8 clans of the City of God have all been killed in the artifact, And even their souls have been destroyed. Even with our ability to bring back the dead, we can't revive them. The Tsar family will definitely not just let this be, the Grand Elder said woefully as he rubbed his temples. The president remained calm and chuckled. Yang Yutian's performance is making me more and more satisfied. Although I've long anticipated that disciple Yun Tian and the people of the Tsar family would make things difficult for Yang Yutian and try to stop him from placing in the top 10 in the Saint artifact, I never thought that the Tsar family would be so determined. The ancestor of the Tsar family even gave an attack of his to a clan member to bring into the artifact. Fortunately, their schemes failed, or Yang Yutian would have lost this chance at reaching Class 7. As for the Tsar family people that were killed, they deserved it. They even brought in the power of a Saint King. They can't blame anyone else. Anyways, Yang Yutian is the future pillar of support for the Union. I cannot allow him to collapse. If they really wish to pressure him, I'll make them pay the price. With that, the president narrowed his eyes. The Grand Elder stayed silent for a while before speaking. Something bad seems to have happened between Yun Tian and Yang Yutian. How do you plan on dealing with it? The Tian Yuan continent itself is a place that abides the law of the jungle. Those who are not strong can only become prey. As long as they don't create too great of a commotion in the Union, I will not interfere with the matters between the two of them. I'll let them handle it themselves. Also, this is a perfect opportunity for Yang Yutian to understand the evil intentions of people. Although Yang Yutian's talent is overwhelming, he's only 24. He's experienced too little, the president said. Currently, 5 ordinary-looking old men strolled down a large street in the city of God, all of whom seemed vaguely anxious. We really don't know where Jian Chen's run off to. We haven't found any news about him even after asking around for so long. An old man sighed as he shook his head. Situ, keep using your great soothsaying technique. Let's see if you can find Jian Chen or not. Old man Matting said. Old man Situ shook his head. I've already tried earlier. There's only the presence of Jian Chen's bloodline in the city of God, not him himself. He seems to have left the city 10 days ago. But this is impossible, because I already sensed that he's located in the city of God. He must be hiding somewhere in the city, somehow avoiding my great soothsaying technique. Recently, there seems to be a competition for Radiant Saint Masters. I heard that there's an independent space in the Saint artifact. Do you think Jian Chen is hiding there? The old man beside old man Matting said. Impossible. My understanding for Radiant Saint Masters may be limited, but I know some basic information. Only Radiant Saint Masters are allowed into the artifact space, not fighters. Do you think Jian Chen is a Radiant Saint Master? Old man Matting made a deduction with absolute certainty. You're right. Jian Chen's clearly a fighter, and he even participated in the gathering of mercenaries. How could he be a Radiant Saint Master? It's impossible for him to be in the artifact. After all, it's impossible for a person to be both a fighter and a Radiant Saint Master. Old man Siddha seconded the thought, dismissing the idea that Jian Chen was in the Saint artifact. Old man Matting pondered for a while and said, though recently the news of Yang Yutian has spread wildly in the city of God. Apparently this Yang Yutian has a beast of antiquity with him. I heard that this beast of antiquity is a huge white tiger, already at class 6. Although the cub the Tiger King wants is also a white tiger, it's not that large and has wings on its back. This beast of antiquity clearly does not have wings. Otherwise, we may have associated that beast of antiquity with the white tiger the Tiger King wants. Though it might not be impossible, the beast of antiquity follows Yang Yutian, while the beast cub we're searching for follows Jian Chen. Old man Siddha said. Suddenly, the 5 of them jerked violently on the street and became extremely stern. Crap, the 4 people from the Bloodsword sect have come. Let's quickly hide our presence and escape from this place. An old man said nervously. Currently, there's plenty of experts at the Radiant Saint Master Union. Let's go hide there immediately. The 4 people won't dare to act too recklessly in the city of God, and they'll definitely be intercepted by the Tsar family. Old man Matting said with a deep voice. Shortly afterwards, they sprinted off towards the Union without any hesitation. They were extremely fast, and traversed several hundred meters with each step. Currently, 4 streaks of blood-red light cut through the sky outside the city of God. They directly approached the city, and wherever they passed by the temperature would decrease abruptly and leave behind traces of baleful force. The 4 streaks of light stopped outside the city, revealing 4 red-robed, middle-aged men with the exact same countenance. The 4 people eyed the huge moat below them with furrowed eyebrows. A sliver of dread flashed across their eyes, before one of them bellowed, "Chase!" Immediately, the 4 of them became a streak of blood-red light and entered the city of God. In the very moment they entered the city, a sliver of light flashed across all the Saint Ruler experts on the square outside the Union. They suddenly raised their heads to look into the distance, and many of them displayed a certain sternness. In the huge castle, the president and the Grand Elder both stood up from their seats. Through the blinds, they stared into the distance with faces full of surprise, as well as some seriousness. What dense baleful force! They're people from the Bloodsword sect, and they aren't weak, the president said with a deep voice. The Bloodsword sect retired from the continent 1,000 years ago, and there has been no news of them at all. I never thought that they'd suddenly appear now, and it's even 4 powerful Saint Rulers. Are they perhaps people who have been invited by the Tsar family, with a great price to handle Yang Yutian? The Grand Elder's expression was also grim. Chapter 779. Awe of the Bloodsword sect. What the Grand Elder had said was extremely logical, to which the president slightly nodded. The president said with a dark expression, "Looks like the Tsar family's determination to eliminate Yang Yutian has already reached a level where they ignore the consequences. They first gave Tsar Telos the attack of a Saint King to take into the artifact space, and after learning that it had failed they've actually invited experts from the Bloodsword sect. Aren't they capable? The Bloodsword sect's already disappeared for 1,000 years. Even our Radiant Saint Master Union can't find them, yet the Tsar family can. The baleful force of the Bloodsword sect is extremely powerful. It can catch people off guard. Even Yang Yutian's defensive treasure will probably be rendered useless once they use baleful force. There'll only be death when that happens." The Grand Elder's expression was very ugly. The Tsar family, the president grinded his teeth, while the coldness in his eyes became even icier. With a swing of his hand the tightly closed window opened, and he flew out on a cloud. "We must stop the Bloodsword sect. For the Union's future, nothing can happen to Yang Yutian." "President, I'll go with you," the Grand Elder said as he followed closely behind the president. In the same moment the two left, 3 people of different ages flew out from the huge castle. They seemed to fuse with the surrounding space, quickly disappearing without a trace. They tailed the president and the Grand Elder. Their departure naturally was noticed by the Saint Rulers, waiting for the competitors around the square. In the crowd, Elder Lu of the Kara clan watched as the group traveled into the distance and mumbled, "The Bloodsword sect has actually reappeared after disappearing for 1,000 years. Perhaps the Bloodsword sects decided to return to the Tianyuan continent and relive their former glory? The Tsar family's determination to eliminate Yang Yutian really is strong." With that, Elder Lu became blurry. He disappeared in the blink of an eye, having already fused with the space and leaving using spatial force. After Elder Lu, the Saint Ruler old man from the Kazda clan also muttered unclearly before disappearing. He too traveled towards the direction of the baleful force. Afterwards, more Saint Rulers around the square also departed. They were all people of relatively large clans from the other 2 capital cities of the Holy Empire and the Tianyuan continent. They had only come to escort the Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters of their clan to the competition, but the sudden appearance of the Bloodsword sect had raised their interest. They could not help but go check out what was going on. At the same time, a dozen or so ancestors of the 8 clans opened their eyes simultaneously from seclusion. They seemed to be able to see the outside sky despite the layers of obstructions, and their faces were filled with surprise, unconcealable shock, and disbelief. This is baleful force, the same baleful force that can only be used by the Bloodsword sect of the 3 great assassination organizations. Has the Bloodsword sect returned? THT, this is baleful force. Perhaps the people are experts from the Bloodsword sect? Why have they come to my city of God? What dense baleful force? Has the Bloodsword sect finally returned after disappearing for 1,000 years? The ancestors all produced various exclamations of surprise. Shortly afterwards, they immediately came out of seclusion and shot towards where the Bloodsword sect members were. In a huge, simple yet stately courtyard, the Grand Elder of the Tsar family sat on his bed in an empty room cultivating. An extremely mysterious aura enveloped the room, causing it to constantly distort, as if the space inside was constantly moving about. Suddenly, the Grand Elder snapped open his eyes. Immediately, a seemingly corporeal spark shot from his eyes and pierced through the space in front. The fluctuating space in the room abruptly froze, and all the furniture in the room turned into piles of dust. Even the bed he was sitting on was not spared. The Grand Elder now hovered in the air with his legs crossed. He narrowed his eyes at the distance and said in surprise, "Baleful force. It's people from the Bloodsword sect. They've actually reappeared on the Tianyuan continent, and they've come directly to my city of God. Why?" With that, the Grand Elder disappeared from the room, going off in an unknown direction. Thousands of meters below the courtyard was a massive cavern. A huge palace flickering with purple light stood there. On it was the wear and tear of time. It had already existed for an unknown amount of time. Currently, a beautiful middle-aged, purple-clothed woman sat floating in the air within the main hall of the palace. Her profound eyes seemed to pierce through everything, being able to see everything outside clearly. Suddenly, a white-robed old man appeared before the middle-aged woman. His gaze towards her was vaguely complicated and he said calmly, "Cayenne, the people of the Bloodsword sect have appeared." "I know," the woman said uncaringly. She did not even glance at the old man. The old man's eyes dimmed at her reaction. He sighed gently, "Cayenne, it's already been so long. Are you still unwilling to forgive your grandfather? I already know that I was wrong with the matter all those years ago, and I too feel a lot of regret. Your grandfather's already 5,800 years old, with only 400 years left to live at most. I do not wish for anything else in my life, only for your forgiveness before I pass away." The woman's face became even icier, while her gaze became a glare. She seemed to vaguely radiate an aura of destruction. The entire palace felt like a cavern of ice in that very moment, and the coldness from her seemed to be able to freeze souls. Even the huge purple palace trembled gently at that moment. Feeling the change to the palace, the old man gave out a long sigh. His eyes dimmed and he mumbled, "Looks like your grandfather wishing you to forgive him is just something impossible. AI, it's all my fault." The old man carried a regretful expression. After pausing for a while, the old man slowly recovered. He said softly, "Cayenne, any thoughts on the matter about the Bloodsword sect?" "Leave. I will do what I need to do when I have to." The woman slowly closed her eyes. From the very start to the end, she did not even look at the old man. He looked at the floating Cayenne with a complicated gaze, and secretly sighed once more. Afterwards, he left the palace rather dejectedly. He could not help but remember what happened several thousand years ago. That was his greatest mistake in his entire life, filling him with regret even now. If time could flow backwards, he would take another choice without even the slightest hesitation. Unfortunately, the past was unchangeable. No matter how powerful he was, he could do nothing. Thousands of meters above the city of God was a crowd of people who stood in the sky, without any external forces. The violent wind buffeted their clothes, and their long hair fluttered in the wind. The crowd was split into 3 groups. The smallest group contained 4 expressionless, red-robed men with cold gazes, who radiated with powerful baleful force. Opposite of the 4 men stood a dozen or so people of varying ages and attires, including the president and the Grand Elder of the Union. They stood in the way of the 4 red-robed men, blocking their entry to the city of God. Another 7 people of different ages stood to the side. Some of them were the experts who originated from other cities of the Holy Empire, while the others came from lands beyond the Holy Empire. Where they stood was extremely smart, not offending either side. They seemed like people completely unrelated to the situation, as they looked on calmly, to see what was going to happen. The president and the Grand Elder both eyed the ancestors of 8 clans, feeling doubtful. Originally they had thought that the Bloodsword sect had been invited by the Tsar family and the 8 clans threw a great price to handle Yang Yutian. But after seeing the people's expressions, they dismissed this thought. Sirs, are you people of the Bloodsword sect? Why have you come to my city of God at this time? The president clasped his hands at the 4 people. We're the 4 protectors of the Bloodsword sect, and have come under the orders of the sect master to kill traitors of the human race. We hope you do not interfere. The 4 people spoke at the same time. Even before so many saint rulers they did not show any fear, not even the slightest fearfulness. Hearing the 2 words sect master, the eyes of all the people present constricted. Fear and dread appeared in the depths of their eyes. May I ask if the sect master is Senior Xiao Houston? A saint ruler from the 8 clans asked carefully. His eyes were filled with dread. Correct, the 4 protectors said with one voice. Hearing that, all the people present changed in expression once again. They were not unfamiliar with the name Xiao Houston. He was one of the few experts of the Tianyuan continent. I wonder what Senior Xiao Houston is referring to be the traitors of the human race? I hope the 4 protectors may alleviate my thoughts. This time the speaker was the Grand Elder of the Tsar family, the old man who had pressured Jianshin during his visit. We are unclear about the exact details. We have only come under the sect master's orders to kill them. We hope you do not obstruct us. This time, the speaker was a single person. His voice was cold and without any emotions. The people of the 8 clans all looked towards the Grand Elder of the Tsar family. In the city of God, the Tsar family was the true ruler. The 8 clans were all just subsidiaries under the Tsar family. The Grand Elder's expression became troubled. The reason why they had come was just too fishy, and the mentioned traitors of the human race only confused him very much. If he did not let them in, he would probably offend the Bloodsword sect. Yet if he did let them in, the peace of the city would be completely destroyed once saint rulers began fighting, leading to countless people killed or injured. This was something the Tsar family definitely did not wish to see. After all, the 4 protectors of the Bloodsword sect were much more powerful than the saint rulers sent by the other 2 assassination organizations to kill Yang Yutian. The arrival of the 4 Bloodsword sect experts caused the Grand Elder to fall into a dilemma for a moment. Chapter 780. End of the competition. Just as the Grand Elder did not know what to do, his expression suddenly had a slight change. A sliver of courtesy appeared on his face before he spoke to the 4 protectors of the Bloodsword sect. For protectors, the ancestor of our Tsar family would like to extend an invitation for you to visit our Tsar family. The 4 protectors pondered a while before one of them said without any expression, "Lead the way." The 4 of them did not dare to act recklessly in the city of God. After all, the Holy Empire was not just any small nation. The Tsar family of the city of God were extremely powerful, ranking on top among all the ancient clans. The 4 of them did not want to offend the Tsar family before completing the sect master's orders unless forced to, or they would just earn a name of incompetence. The 4 people followed the people of the Tsar family and disappeared into the horizon. All the other people who had gathered also dispersed one by one, but they all pondered over something weird. They wondered what the traitors of the human race mentioned by the 4 protectors was about. Looks like the Bloodsword sect hasn't come for Yang Yutian. The president of the Radiant Saint Master Union relaxed slightly. Watching the 4 people disappear into the distance, the Grand Elder behind him commented, "But the 4 of them have already been invited away by the Tsar family. They may not have come for Yang Yutian, but I worry that the situation will change after they leave the Tsar family." The president shook his head. "It shouldn't. With my understanding of the Bloodsword sect, even when they need to assassinate people, they will only send people who have similar strengths to the target. They never send assassins who are much more stronger. Yang Yutian is still a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master. With their pride, they definitely will not stoop so low to kill a 20-odd-year-old junior. Most importantly, the Bloodsword sect's already stepped down and hasn't returned. As long as they don't return, they won't accept it. Then we don't need to worry. The Grand Elder relaxed secretly before following the president back to the headquarters. In a beautifully decorated room at the Tsar family, the 4 protectors sat quietly in seats to the side. They were received personally by the Grand Elder as a sign of respect towards the Bloodsword sect. The Grand Elder possessed an almost paramount status in the sect. He was the 3rd most powerful in the entire clan, only ranking below the ancestors. The family had already shown enough respect by getting him to receive the 4 protectors. The hall was currently empty. There was no one else other than the 4 protectors and the Grand Elder. A powerful barrier suddenly appeared and enveloped the entire hall. The 4 people sat there like normal, completely unalarmed. However, they were already filled with caution. I wonder if the sect master Xiao Houston is still doing well? I, Tsar Milo, hope that when the 4 honored guests return you can help me ask about the well-being of the sect master. An old voice sounded in the hall, but no one was to be seen. Junior will personally tell the sect master what Senior has said. One of the protectors clasped his hands expressionlessly. For protectors, I wonder why you have come to my city of God. The old voice boomed once again. We have come to kill the traitors of the human race under the sect master's orders. The protector said. The old voice hesitated for a while before continuing. It's possible for our Tsar family to not interfere with your plans, but I hope we can make a deal before all this. The energy of the world began to move within the hall. A while later an image, completely coalesced from the energy, appeared before the 4 people. Seeing the image, the 4 people suddenly narrowed their eyes. However, they soon recovered to how they were before. This person is called Yang Yutian, and is an extremely talented radiant saint master. His existence obstructs the development of my Tsar family. I hope the 4 protectors can eliminate this Yang Yutian along the way. My Tsar family will definitely give a satisfying remuneration in return. The old voice boomed. Senior, we will not be accepting this mission. A protector declined the ancestors' deal without a second thought. He did not even spend any time to consider it. 4 protectors, as long as you complete the mission, my Tsar family will definitely pay a generous price. You will not suffer any losses. The old voice boomed once again. Senior, our mission is to pursue and kill the traitors of the human race under the sect master's orders. We cannot accept other missions. Also, our Bloodsword sect has yet to return to the continent. If Senior wants our sect to assassinate the person called Yang Yutian, Senior can only go and find our sect master. A protector said, if the 4 of you accept my deal, I can help you find the traitors. You would be able to complete the mission much easier with my help. The old voice boomed again, this time slightly hurried. Though he was a saint king, due to certain reasons his family was unable to assassinate Yang Yutian in the open. He could only find someone else to do the deed. The 4 protectors stood up simultaneously. One of them clasped their hands. Senior, if there is nothing else, the 4 of us will be leaving first. With that, they left the hall. Grand Elder, quickly go and organize some people to activate the concealing array and hide the presence of everyone in the city. Since the 4 protectors don't know what's best for them, I will not allow them complete their mission easily. Hearing that, the Grand Elder's expression changed slightly. He said rather anxiously, Ancestor, wouldn't this offend the Bloodsword sect? The concealing array is an array that protects our city of God. We the Tsar family are the ones in charge of the city of God. So is there anything wrong for us to activate it? The old voice said slightly gruffly. Very well, Ancestor. I will immediately go organize some people to activate the array. The 4 protectors left the Tsar family and walked on the streets side by side. Those 5 old coots are just too good at hiding their presence. Finding them will not be easy, and there's just too many people in the city of God. There are presences all over the place. Wanting to find them precisely in such a populated area is just making something already difficult even harder. A protector said expressionlessly, I can only sense that the 5 traitors are in this city, but I can't find their exact whereabouts. It won't work if we continue like this. We should find a quiet place to use the secret technique and look for where they are. We need to complete the sect master's mission as soon as possible. We can't drag it out any longer. The four protectors immediately arrived in a location where no one was present. They sat cross-legged on the ground in a circle, and before each of them floated a long blood-red awl. The four tips touched each other, forming a cross that rotated slowly. Suddenly, the four protectors spat out a mouthful of blood simultaneously and bellowed, "Blood God's Guide!" The four people's blood condensed together in the air very quickly, before becoming a streak of blood-red light, and flying off into the distance. "Follow quickly," a protector called out. Shortly afterwards the four of them became a single streak of red light, chasing after it. However, at this very moment, the sky above the entire city suddenly began to churn. The originally gentle energy of the world became violent. It greatly surprised all the experts in the city of God, causing them to raise their heads. The people of the Kara and Kazda clan were affected in particular. A certain light flickered in their eyes, and the two groups were already joining together to prevent any sudden attack from the Tsar family. This is the concealing array that can hide all presences. In the castle of the Radiant Saint Master Union, the white-robed president stood beside a window staring sternly at the sky. He mumbled. The Tsar family suddenly activated the concealing array, probably both because of the four protectors from the Bloodsword sect, and because they want to start moving against the other two clans. At the same time, the protectors shooting through the sky at full speed came to a stop together. A sliver of anger finally appeared on their cold faces, and their gazes turned to an extremely sharp glare. It's the city of God's concealing array. It can hide all presences. The Tsar family activating this array right now clearly means that they want to prevent us from completing the sect master's mission. A protector said with a deep voice, while powerful killing intent began to radiate from his body. This Tsar family is obstructing us on purpose. Once we get back, I will definitely report it to the sect master without obscuring anything. I will ask the sect master to make a decision. The second protector also said with a deep voice. He too experienced unconcealable rage in his heart. Let's not focus on this for now. We should think of ideas on how to find the 5 people. If we don't complete the mission, would we even have the dignity to return and report to the sect master? The Blood God's Guide has failed. The city of God is huge, and they've already used the concealing array to hide the people's presences. How do we find them? Fly in the direction of the guide. We might be able to find them like that. In the blink of an eye, a whole 15 days had already passed in the Saint Artifact. It was the day that the competition would end. The surroundings of the square outside the Radiant Saint Master Union was already full of people in the morning, but the square itself was completely empty. It was the location where the competitors would appear. Currently, all the people gathered stared at the Saint Artifact at the very top of the castle in anticipation. Although it was not as lively as the gathering of mercenaries, the Radiant Saint Master competition, every 50 years, received a lot of attention as well. The people who placed in the top 10 received the attention of many different groups in particular, because they were geniuses who had the chance to reach Class 7. There were only 24 or so Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters on the entire continent. The birth of every Class 7 Radiant Saint Master was something that would cause a huge commotion. To no surprise, the 5 old men who had come to the city of God to take refuge mingled in the crowd as well. They no longer carried anxious expressions. The activation of the concealing array was naturally sensed by them, and caused them to become overjoyed. With the concealing array, and their purposeful hiding of their presence, it would become extremely difficult for the 4 protectors to find them. It was one less problem they had to worry about while finding Jianshen. This Yang Yutian seems to only be 24. Not only is he a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master, but he's also grasped the 3 great radiant arts, and even tamed a beast of antiquity. I'm extremely curious about him. I really want to see what type of person he is. Old man Matting muttered to himself. Along the way they had heard too many rumors regarding Yang Yutian, which made them want to see what type of person Yang Yutian was. And that beast of antiquity, they're extremely rare on the Tianyuan continent. I must see one personally. Old man Situ produced a light chuckle. He felt a sliver of anticipation. Although the time was passing slowly, it eventually reached noon. At that exact moment, powerful white light descended from the sky and directly rained onto the empty square. With each streak of white light, a radiant Saint Master would appear, causing the empty square to be quickly filled. The white light continued to fall without any signs of stopping. Very soon, hundreds of competitors appeared on the square. Every single one of them was weary-looking and in horrible shape, clearly having suffered many hardships in the 15 days within the artifact. However, without any exceptions, every single person carried simple bags of different sizes, made completely out of beast skin. They all contained high-class monster cores that the competitors had collected in the artifact. Suddenly, a rainbow appeared in the sky. 10 radiant Saint Masters of varying ages slowly descended from the sky in a pillar of rainbow light. Their appearance immediately attracted that attention of everyone present. This was because the 10 people in the rainbow light were the people who had collected the most points, the outstanding victors, who had placed in the top 10. That's Yang Yutian. He really does have a small beast on his shoulder. Is that perhaps the beast of antiquity? A person suddenly cried out from the crowd. Immediately, all the people focused on the beast, their eyes filled with envy and admiration. When the 5 old men saw the white tiger, a sliver of light immediately flashed across their eyes. One of them muttered, "Why do I feel that the beast of antiquity is extremely similar to the cub mentioned by the Tiger King? If you look carefully on its back, there seems to be a pair of wings." There really is a pair of wings, though the beast of antiquity has hidden it very well. It's very hard to discover. A sliver of surprise appeared in Old Man Moting's eyes. After pondering slightly, he immediately said to Old Man Situ, "Situ, cast the great soothsaying technique again immediately. See if you can find him or not. I feel that the beast of antiquity is what the Tiger King wants." Hearing that, a sliver of light flashed across Old Man Situ's eyes. The concealing array's been activated, so my great soothsaying technique will definitely be affected. I will try my best. With that, Old Man Situ immediately closed his eyes and formed a weird hand seal. He began casting the technique silently, sensing for the presence of Jian Chen's bloodline. 3 seconds later, Old Man Sighty snapped over his eyes. 2 shocking streaks of light shot out of his eyes, disappearing with a flash. I finally found Jian Chen. He's actually Yang Yutian. Old Man Situ pointed to Jian Chen, who slowly descended from the sky in the rainbow light. He revealed unconcealable shock and joy. Chapter 781. The Nitpicking 8 Clans. What? What did you say? Yang Yutian is Jian Chen? The person behind Old Man Situ said in surprise. He was filled with disbelief. Correct. It's him, he's Jian Chen. It can't be wrong because when I used the blood from Jian Chen's parents as a guide for the great soothsaying technique, I could sense a strong presence of the bloodline on Yang Yutian. He must be Jian Chen. Old Man Situ was both overjoyed and surprised. He was overjoyed by the fact that they had finally found Jian Chen after searching for so long, and they could finally complete the mission from the Tiger King for the 2 remaining Class 7 monster cores. While he was surprised by the fact that Jian Chen, a fighter who had participated in the gathering of mercenaries, had suddenly become a prodigious Class 6, Radiant Saint Master. Even Old Man Situ felt rather overwhelmed with disbelief. If it were not for the fact that he had felt a strong presence of bloodline on Jian Chen, he would not have been able to connect Yang Yutian to Jian Chen at all. This was due to the fact that Radiant Saint Masters could not be fighters, and vice versa, on the Tianyuan continent. It was an almost undeniable fact. Weird. Jian Chen is clearly a fighter, so how's he a Radiant Saint Master now? Another old man said. He too struggled to believe it. The 5 old men communicated using a communication technique, so no one around them could hear what they were saying. Old Man Matting stared at Jian Chen with a complicated gaze. He was also very surprised by the fact that a fighter was also a Radiant Saint Master. After a period of silence, his mouth moved slightly. Since we've found Jian Chen, that beast of antiquity on his shoulder must be the cub that the Tiger King wants. Yeah, it must be that tiger cub. It's exactly the same as how the Tiger King described it. Situ Matting, it's such a great opportunity, so what are we waiting for? We might as well just all go for it. Steal that beast's cub, and then leave immediately. An old man said rather excitedly. He had already waited too long for this day. We mustn't. Old man Situ shook his head without any hesitation. This is the city of God and the headquarters of the Radiant Saint Master Union. Also, Jianshan is regarded as very important in the Union. If we do it now, we'll be the ones who suffer a loss. Not only will we fail to take the cub, our lives might even end up on the line. You're right. Experts are extremely plentiful in the city of God. The Tsar family in particular still has powerful saint kings hidden away. We cannot be careless, or we'll be doomed forever. We can only try to get the beast of antiquity through smart means, not by force. And if we do want to do it by force, we definitely cannot do it here. Old man Matting said gruffly. Anyways, the four protectors won't be able to find us too anytime soon with the concealing array of the city, and our additional disguising of our presence. We might as well just settle down somewhere near the headquarters. I don't think Jianshan will stay in the headquarters forever. Even if he doesn't come out, I'll figure out ideas on how to lure him out. Things will be much easier after he's far away from the Union. I think that'll work. Let's do that then. If push comes to shove, we still have one final card to play. Jianshan is a fighter after all. Heh. The victors in the final top 10 slowly descended in the rainbow light, while all the other Radiant Saint Masters around looked at them in admiration and envy. Quan Yukai also managed to place within the top 10. Currently, he was overjoyed and constantly thanking Jianshan. Of the 10 people, Quan Yukai was probably the one who had it the easiest. He just collected the points that originally belonged to Jianshan for free. The president strided out of the castle as several elders followed behind them. He glanced at the 10 people in rainbow light with a smile. Good, good, good. You're the most outstanding Class 6, Radiant Saint Masters for this competition. I hope some of you reach Class 7 in a year's time. The president looked towards Jianshan. Yang Yutian, your performance is extremely outstanding. I feel proud to be your master. Though that little beast on your shoulder has fooled me well. I never thought it was actually an extremely rare beast of antiquity. Even your master feels shocked. President, Yang Yutian has experienced many battles in the artifact. He must be exhausted. Why don't you quickly get him to rest? The Grand Elder said with a smile from the side, while his gaze towards Jianshan carried a mix of emotions. You're right. Yang Yutian, you should quickly go rest. The president chuckled, clearly extremely happy. Yes, master. Jianshan clasped his hands, before bidding farewell to Kara Liwei and Quan Yukai. He walked directly towards the castle. Wait! Suddenly, there was a loud voice from within the crowd. Over 10 people of different ages walked over to Jianshan. Seeing this, Jianshan frowned slightly. He was not unfamiliar with the people. They were the ancestors of the 8 clans. The president and Grand Elder also frowned slightly. A sliver of displeasure appeared in their eyes. The people arrived before Jianshan, and all glared at him. One of them growled. Yang Yutian, all the people of the 8 clans died to your hands except for one. You need to provide us with an explanation. Jianshan's complexion darkened. He did not show any fear even before a dozen or so saint rulers. He said with a sneer. They wanted to kill me first before ending up like this. All you can say is that they have themselves to blame. You can't blame anyone else. Hearing Jianshan's tone and attitude, all the ancestors darkened in expression immediately, narrowing their eyes at Jianshan. Amir Jr. was speaking to them like that. That could not be forgiven. If it were not for the fact that the president was present, they would definitely have taught Jianshan a solid lesson. A red-robed middle-aged man growled. Yang Yutian, we of the 8 clans are not unreasonable people. We know that our people fell to a beast of antiquity, not you, so we won't be troubling you. We only need to punish the murderer as retribution for what happened with the 8 clans. With that, the man arrived before Jianshan with a flash, and extended his hands towards the white tiger with lightning speed. He wanted to take Jianshan by surprise, and take the beast of antiquity. It was no different from daylight robbery, but the 8 clans had enough reasons to justify it. A sliver of grim light flashed across Jianshan's eyes. Just as he was about to react, a transparent barrier suddenly appeared, enveloping Jianshan inside. The man's hand was unable to continue any further after it touched the barrier. He was unable to break the barrier protecting Jian Chun with his strength. Roar! At the same time, the white tiger suddenly stood up on Jian Chun's shoulder. Its originally bright and innocent eyes became flooded with viciousness instantly. The tightly folded wings suddenly opened, and with a flash of white light, the white tiger had already passed through the barrier to arrive in front of the man. It swung its sharp claws at the man's face. The man sneered and said with disdain, "Even a mere Class 6 magical beast dares to act so recklessly before me. So what if you're a beast of antiquity? You're still as insignificant as an ant." With that, the surrounding space immediately began to solidify. He attempted to use spatial force to forcefully trap the tiger in the air. He completely looked down on it with his pride as a saint ruler. After all, the difference of strength between the two of them was just too great. Those below Saint Ruler were ants. However, what happened next shocked everybody. The white tiger was not affected by the solidifying space at all, arriving before the man without faltering in speed at all. As the man stared at it in shock, it left behind 2 deep claw marks with lightning speed, before returning to Jian Chun's shoulder, as a streak of white light once again, without even becoming perturbed during the process. The frozen space did not seem to even exist for the white tiger. The surroundings fell into a deathly silence. Everyone stared at the deep claw marks on the man's face blankly, the president and saint rulers of the 8 clans included. Their expressions were overwhelmed with disbelief. Not only did a Class 6 magical beast just injured a saint ruler, it had injured the person's face. This was like a solid slap to the saint ruler, an embarrassment that would stick with the person for the rest of his life. The red-robed man remained stunned for a while before returning to his senses. He felt a burning pain on his face and immediately exploded with anger. A dignified saint ruler just had his face raked by a Class 6 magical beast before everyone. It was so shameful that he even had the thought of killing himself. You goddamn beast. You're not going to be making it past today." Under his roaring rage and great embarrassment, the man fell into irrationality. With a roar, he struck at the white tiger with his full strength with no concern for the consequences whatsoever. "How dare you!" Suddenly a weak, ancient voice boomed in the sky. With it, the space around the man immediately froze. Even with his strength as a saint ruler, he was helpless against the frozen space. He was caught tightly and immobilized completely. Suddenly the frozen space shook. The man caught inside it immediately sprayed out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. He was caught by a few saint rulers from the 8 clans behind him. The saint ruler ancestors of the 8 clans all became ugly in expression. The saint king of the Radiant Saint Master Union had struck out. Unless the ancestor of the Tsar family was here, it would be extremely difficult for them to benefit from the situation at all. But the ancestor was extremely fearful of the Radiant Saint Master Union president. It was impossible for him to appear. 8 clans. Do you still want my disciple to provide you retribution for what happened in the artifact? The president said expressionlessly. Chapter 782. Breaking the ancient vow. The ancestors of the 8 clans all became sheet white, before leaving with darkened complexions. The people from the Tsar family never appeared. After seeing that no one from their clan returned from the artifact, they had left without a sound. Many Tsar family people had died in the artifact, but they were the ones in the wrong after all. They had already violated the rules severely by bringing in the power of a saint king into the artifact. Even if anything happened to their own clan members, they could not say anything. They could only accept the losses as bad luck. However, after so many incidents, the strength and extraordinary characteristics of the white tiger had already been witnessed by many people. As a magical beast that had just reached Class 6, it had injured a saint ruler. While the saint ruler was careless when it all happened, it would still make the white tiger extremely well known, receiving the attention and admiration of countless people. In the crowd, Old Man Situ's group stared fixedly at the white tiger on Jian Chen's shoulder. Their eyes flickered with a weird light. No wonder the Tiger King wants us to get this beast of antiquity. It really is very powerful. Old Man Matting sighed gently. Old man Sita glanced at the white tiger one last time before turning around and leaving. Let's go. It'd be useless if we stayed here. Let's go according to the plan. And never leak out Jianqin's identity as a fighter unless you need to. None of us know how the Radiant Saint Master Union will treat him after they learn this. If they continue treating him as a member of the Union, Jianqin would be able to use the power of the Union to handle us without needing to hide anything. That'd be extremely disadvantageous to us. If they treat him as an enemy, Jianqin will definitely not be able to escape with the Union's power, and that beast of antiquity will naturally end up in the hands of the Union. That's something I definitely do not wish to see. So right now, the best thing we can do is wait until Jianqin comes out of the Union before we move against him. Jianqin returned to the castle without paying any attention to the matters outside. Currently he sat on the bed with his eyes closed, while his presence had already enveloped the entire Union. A while later, Jianqin opened his eyes slowly. He murmured, "There seems to be some changes to the entire city. I can't clearly sense the presence of those experts. And Yin Tian's not actually in the castle. I wonder where he's hiding. Whatever. There's one more year until the seal of the artifact opens. I can only absorb the origin energy of Radiant Saint Force to reach Class 7 at that time, so I'll just stay here peacefully for the next year." In a hidden basement within the simple courtyard of the Tsar family, Yin Tian was currently discussing some things in secret with an internal elder of the Tsar family. "Yin Tian, are you sure you want to do this?" The internal elder sat opposite of Yin Tian, looking at him with a smile. Resolution appeared in Yin Tian's eyes. "As long as your Tsar family eliminates Yang Yutian, I, Yin Tian, will immediately lead the Union to join your Tsar family after I become president. But if there are any people who object at that time, I hope your Tsar family can help me handle it." Sure. This definitely won't become a problem. Yin Tian, as they say, those who react pragmatically are wise. You've done very well in this aspect, much better than your master. Don't worry. Since you want to join my Tsar family wholeheartedly, my Tsar family will definitely treat you well. In the future you'll still maintain full power over the Union, but other than the identity of Union president, you'll have a second one. That of a member of the Tsar family. I hope you can remember this, the internal elder said with a smile. The fourth elder does not need to worry at all. We need to eliminate Yang Yutian as soon as possible. Otherwise, once he reaches Class 7 it'll be much more harder to eliminate him. Yin Tian said, "Our Tsar family has its own plans. You do not need to worry." The fourth elder said. Yin Tian did not return to the Union after leaving the Tsar family. Instead he settled down in an inn relatively far away from the headquarters. He no longer dared to return to the Union with what he had done to Jianqin. He was afraid of Jianqin shaming and taking revenge on him. Yin Tian sat on a bed within a luxurious bed, while his lips curled into an icy smile. He thought, "Tsar family, although you're powerful, it won't be easy for you to control me. I'm only using you to eliminate Yang Yutian." Within the Saint Artifact, the white-robed artifact spirit currently stood at the highest point of his palace, staring down at the six-colored star formation with a mixed expression. The six-colored star formation was the vow he had made very, very long ago with the powerful Radiant Saint Master. The ancient vow restricted his movements, which had made him protect the Radiant Saint Master Union silently for countless years. If it was before the competition, the artifact spirit would not have even imagined breaking the vow. However, after he discovered the sword spirits and the terrifyingly powerful corpses that were felled by the sword spirits in the void, his mind began to change. This was because the images showed him an even wider world, and made him understand that there would always be greater things elsewhere. He was no longer willing to stay here and dwell in narrow-mindedness. As a result, other thoughts invaded his mind. He was unwilling to stay alone, unwilling to remain all by himself. He wanted to find even vaster lands. The artifact spirit stood in front of the formation, silently for a very long time, while his eyes became brighter and brighter. Clenching his fists tightly, he said huskily, "I need to destroy this seal that's binded me for countless years, so I can regain my freedom." With that, the energy within the entire space became extremely wild, gathering towards the hall with an unbelievable speed. In the blink of an eye, the majestic hall was filled with energy ripples of destruction. With the devastating amount of energy, the entire hall just disintegrated. All that was left behind was a huge formation floating in the sky, while the surrounding land of 100 meters had become a 9-meter-deep ditch. This shocked all the living organisms within the space. All the magical beasts could feel the difference, whether strong or weak. On the very peak of a sword-shaped mountain, a burly, bare-chested middle-aged man stood up. He gazed into the distance and cried out in surprise, "Is this spirit going crazy? What is he doing?" In an underground cavern, an old man that was cross-legged and cultivating slowly opened his eyes. 2 streaks of light shot from his eyes off to the distance, and he mumbled curiously, "Just what does this spirit want to do? Why did it suddenly move so much energy? Is he insane?" Bang! Suddenly, an earth-shaking sound rumbled from the distance. A storm of destructive energy wreaked havoc in the distance, causing the entire space to shake. It was as if the world was going to collapse. Damn, has this spirit gone insane? Does he want to destroy the entire space? Within a forest, a burly middle-aged man in tight robes called out. His face was extremely stern. "This ancient vow is too powerful. I can't break it all by myself. All Class 8 magical beasts help me out. After it's broken, I'll let you all free." A great voice boomed through every corner of the artifact space. All the Class 8 magical beasts were at first stunned from hearing it, before immediately becoming overjoyed. Without the slightest hesitation, they traveled towards the center of the space with their greatest speed. Meanwhile, the Class 7 magical beasts could only watch on enviously. Very soon, a dozen or so people of varying ages and attires gathered before the artifact spirit. They all stared curiously at the huge formation floating before them. "Sir Artifact Spirit, is it true with what you said? If we help you break this ancient vow, we'll recover our freedom?" The bare-chested man said gruffly, his voice filled with unconcealable excitement. "Correct. As long as you help me break this vow, I will send you all out immediately. You'll regain your freedom." The artifact spirit said seriously. "All right, let's start then." All the Class 8 magical beasts displayed expressions of unconcealable excitement. Chapter 783. The Beast God Continent Invades 1. Over 10 Class 8 magical beasts gathered together. If this had occurred on the Tianyuan continent, it would be enough to shake the entire land and invite a wild storm, as each of these magical beasts was equivalent to a Saint King. Such experts were extremely rare, even with the entire continent in perspective. These magical beasts were born in the artifact space and matured within it. They had learnt long ago that there was an even vaster world outside the artifact, and they too had once anticipated in leaving the artifact to see the vaster world. However, they were trapped in this space, and even if they all worked together, it was impossible to break out. As a result, they could only endure it silently, living their lives out like prisoners. However, the artifact spirit had offered them freedom. This was something no one could resist. All the Class 8 magical beasts in the artifact had gathered. Even those who always remained in seclusion came out. Gaining freedom and exploring an even vaster world had always been their dreams. No one would ever miss such a rare opportunity for it to come true. The ancient vow is extremely powerful. Even using all the energy in this space, I couldn't even shake it. All of you prepare to use your most powerful attack to assault this formation with me." The artifact spirit said sternly before controlling all the energy within the space once again. Immediately, the terrifying energy of destruction began to gather in the surroundings once again, quickly condensing into a meter-wide fist under the spirit's compressment. Energy of destruction radiated from the fist. It distorted space, annihilating the sky. The entire space began to shake violently, causing the ground to crack and mountains to collapse. It seemed like the end of the world. The fist seemed to be able to destroy the world. Behind the artifact spirit, the human-shaped Class 8 magical beasts all became solemn. They glanced at the artifact spirit in shock, were astounded by the spirit's strength. Before the fist, none of them even had the thought of resisting. as it was enough to easily obliterate them. Is this the power of Saint Emperors? All the magical beasts stared at the spirit with eyes filled with dread. What are you waiting for? The artifact spirit turned around and yelled at the magical beasts. With a jerk, the magical beasts did not hesitate at all, and immediately condensed all their strength into their hands. As the magical beasts on par to Saint Kings began to move at same time, a terrifying pressure pervaded the entire space. It caused countless beasts to tremble, while the surrounding energy of the world and radiant saint force fell into utter chaos. The space trembled more and more violently as it distorted severely, while it became flooded in darkness where the magical beast stood. The space had already been destroyed, revealing pitch-black void. Do it! The artifact spirit cried out, before striking out along with the magical beasts. The terrifying charged-up energy rippled out violently with the force of destruction as the huge fist and the various beast heads and weapons condensed by the magical beasts collided with the six-colored star formation. Boom! A deafening sound reverberated across the entire space. Suddenly, the formation exploded with a dazzling light, resisting the attacks desperately. A while later, the attacks dispersed into the air in the form of energy, while the formation remained untouched. The powerful strike from over 10 Class 8 magical beasts and the great artifact spirit did not break the formation. Its toughness and strength was at a terrifying level. The ancient vow's energy is too powerful. The artifact spirit's expression became rather ugly. Looking at the unharmed formation, the magical beasts all became extremely stern. Shock overwhelmed them completely. The strength of the formation was just unbelievable. Let's do it again. I refuse to believe that we can't break this vow. If you all want your freedom, don't hold back at all. The artifact spirit gritted his teeth, while his complexion became terrifying. As long as the vow remained, he would always remain tied up here. The magical beasts all looked at each other. Every single one of them had a sliver of resolution. Shortly afterwards they all growled, turning back into their beast form. They had been trapped here for thousands of years. To them, nothing was more important than freedom. For freedom, and for a vaster world they were willing to pay anything to break this vow, to return to their ancestors' lands, to see the outside world. The group of magical beasts did not lack any beast of antiquities. Of the dozen or so, 3 stood out the most. One of them was a 300-meter-long golden divine dragon covered in golden scales. It radiated with a terrifying, earth-shaking presence. He was the most powerful among the magical beasts, already a 9th heavenly layer Saint King. He was undebatably the most powerful within the artifact space, with only the artifact spirit himself able to suppress him. The second was a huge 1,000-meter-long alligator covered in ink-black scales. Each scale had an extremely sharp spike, so it looked like a hedgehog with its countless tiny spikes. The alligator was a mutated king beast. It was not a beast of antiquity, but it was not any weaker than one. All it lacked was the inherited memories that beasts of antiquities possessed. The mutated alligator also possessed terrifying strength, as an 8th heavenly layer Saint King. It was only second to the golden divine dragon in the artifact space. The third was a bird covered in roaring flames, a scorching divine phoenix. It was also a beast of antiquity, while the flames which covered it seemed to reach the very limit at which fire could burn at. It was able to scorch the void and burn everything. Its waves of heat even kept a few magical beasts at a certain distance, unwilling to approach it. The scorching divine phoenix was also extremely powerful. It too was an 8th heavenly layer Saint King. It stood equal to the mutated alligator in the artifact space. The Class 8 magical beasts had all turned to their beast forms, displaying their most powerful condition. Afterwards, they all struck at the formation with devastating attacks, along with the artifact spirit, without holding back at all. Under the powerful boom, the formation radiated with a dazzling light as it resisted desperately, but it did not break. Although it was just a formation, the toughness was unbelievable. The artifact space closely eyed the formation, while a sliver of joy slowly appeared on his face. He said, "I can feel that the energy of the vow has weakened slightly. Let's continue. We need to break this formation." The magical beasts continued to attack the formation violently with the artifact's spirit without any pauses. Outside the artifact space, no one had discovered that the saint artifact hidden in the white ball of light was trembling violently above the huge castle. With every single attack, the artifact would jerk violently. The battle occurring inside was greatly affecting the artifact itself. At the same time, in the very depths of the Cross Mountains, the Tiger King of the Gilligan clan that pursued Jian Shen sat cross-legged in a majestic hall. The light in his eyes flickered while his expression constantly varied. He was clearly making a decision. A month's already passed, and there hasn't been any news of the winged tiger god. The 5 human saint rulers are still alive, but with their strength they should have completed my mission already with so much time. Looks like they've encountered problems with human experts. The Tiger King mumbled while his expression darkened soon after. He suddenly stood up and said, "I can't drag this out any longer. Since the human experts already know about the winged tiger god, it's impossible for the 5 saint rulers to complete this mission with their strength. I need to report back to the beast god continent." With that, the Tiger King immediately removed a piece of jade from his space ring with a flip of his hand. Suddenly, his heart jerked and he thought, since human experts have already learnt about the winged tiger god, they must have done things to prevent me from communicating with the beast god continent. Looks like my normal way of communicating won't work anymore. I need to use a secret technique. With that, the Tiger King suddenly disappeared. He reappeared in a hidden basement, with a complicated formation in the very center of the room. The Tiger King arrived at it, and spat out a mouthful of blood onto the formation. Using a secret technique to activate it, the formation began to turn immediately. It gave off a hazy light and soon afterwards, a dark, burly silhouette appeared in it. The person's appearance could not be seen. With the silhouette's appearance, time in the basement seemed to stop. Even the air seemed to freeze while a powerful pressure appeared vaguely, filling the entire room. As soon as he saw the black shadow, the Tiger King's face became filled with respect. He immediately fell to his knees with his face buried in the ground. With a courteous tone he said, "Tiger King Anderkin greets the ruler." "Anderkin, was the matter with the winged tiger god successful?" The shadow said with a heavy voice. "Ruler, it was this one who did things badly. There have been changes of the matter of the winged tiger god. Experts of the Tian Yuan continent have learned about it. With this one's powers, it is no longer possible to complete this mission. Ruler, please punish me." Tiger King Anderkin's tone was extremely polite. The shadow paused for a while before continuing. "I understand. Don't worry any more about the winged tiger god. Let me handle it. Since the experts of the Tian Yuan continent wish to interfere with the matters of the beast god continent, I can't be blamed for ignoring the rules set down by the beast god and Mo Tianyan all those years ago." Chapter 784. The beast god continent invades too. Yes, this one obeys. The Tiger King immediately relaxed slightly after seeing that the ruler had no intention of punishing him. Any particular movements from the man drowned in earthly pleasures and desires? The black shadow continued, replying to the ruler, "The Lord of carnal desires has undergone a very great change. According to the news I've received, he's already broken through many desires. Right now there's only rage, desire and lust bounding him." The Tiger King said courteously, "Only he has some ability on the Tian Yuan continent. At first he practiced the pure heart secrets from the pure heart pavilion, but then he was expelled from the sect. He sank into the 7 emotions and 6 pleasures, and with that he took off on a path practiced by no one ever before. In the end, he successfully reached Saint Emperor. Afterwards, he attempted to break free from the chains of the 7 emotions and 6 pleasures in order to exceed Saint Emperor. I just wonder if he'll really be able to reach the cultivation level he wants after severing himself from the chains of emotions and pleasures." The black shadow mumbled to himself, but soon after he mocked. "No one understands Saint Emperors better than me. How would it be easy to exceed Saint Emperor and become like the 4 great experts of the ancient times? Once this path Lord frees himself from those carnal boundings, he'll grow much stronger, but he won't exceed Saint Emperor." With that, The shadow slowly disappeared while the flickering formation began to dull. Very far away from the Tianyuan continent was a similar piece of land. The continent was not any smaller than Tianyuan, but the difference was that almost 80% of it was covered in dense forests and vast mountain ranges, with the remaining land as flat plains. Countless organisms lived on the continent. There were no humans. Every organism, without exception, was a magical beast. The continent was originally inhabited by the 100 races in the ancient times, before it was invaded by a group of magical beasts, under the ancient winged tiger god's command. They chased out the 100 races, and hence renamed it as the Beast God Continent. In the very center of the continent, a majestic palace hung at an altitude of over 10 kilometers, radiating with light in all directions. It was extremely large, reaching into tens of kilometers in both length and width. It seemed more like a small city. This palace was called the Beast God Hall, and was something that was irreplaceable in the Beast God Continent. It was personally forged by the ancient winged tiger god from the essence of the ground, and became a holy land to all the magical beasts on the continent. At the same time, it was where all the experts of the continent cultivated. The palace had a total of 99 floors, and each floor had a height of hundreds of meters. There were many rooms within it with passageways stretched throughout it. The entire system was extremely complicated, like a huge maze. Inside the 99-floored palace was a total of 98 people who cultivated there. They were the 98 strongest beings of the Beast God Continent, with even the weakest being a Saint King. They each took up a floor, and were divided according to strength. The stronger one was, the higher one's floor would be. The ruler of the continent, the most powerful person in the entire land, lived on the 98th floor. The 99th floor was where the ancient winged tiger god lived. No one could enter it. It was said that the 99th floor possessed the legacy of the ancient winged tiger god, and only beast gods with the blood of the winged tiger god could enter it. Currently, a black-robed, middle-aged man levitated in the air. He was on the 96th floor sitting with his legs crossed. Suddenly, an imposing voice boomed in the space. "Lankyros, the news of the winged tiger god has broken out. I'm currently in a crucial moment of my seclusion, so I can't leave. Immediately gather the experts of the hall, and go to the Tianyuan continent for the winged tiger god." The man slowly opened his eyes. "Ruler, do we have to destroy the agreement set down by the ancient beast god, Anemo Tianyin? The winged tiger god itself belongs to the Beast God Continent. You're only going to the Tianyuan continent to bring back what belongs to the beast race. Nothing like this would have occurred if the Tianyuan continent had cooperated. Since they're not cooperating, we can only destroy that ancient agreement." The heavy and imposing voice boomed in the room. The man paused for a while before continuing. "All right, I'll immediately lead people there." With that, the man disappeared. When he appeared once again, he was already standing before the main entrance to the 97th floor of the palace. He said, "Sangqiong, my old friend, perhaps I'm unwelcome?" A while later, the door slowly opened. The man directly walked in. In the room of the 97th floor sat a ruddy old man. His eyes were currently closed as he floated in midair, with a thick layer of golden light covering him. The black-robed man stopped 100 meters away and looked calmly at the old man. "Sangqiong, I'm paying a visit to the Tianyuan continent. You might as well come with me. The Tianyuan continent only has a single saint emperor, the Path Lord. You by yourself is enough, so why do you need me?" The old man remained with his eyes closed as he spoke indifferently. The black-robed man sighed lightly. "Sangqiong, you should know why I'm going there. You need to choose a side for the future of your Peng clan. The winged tiger god is the god of the Beast God Continent. The only reason why our Beast God Continent has been prosperous until even today is all because of the Beast God. As a citizen of the continent, I would never do anything that disrespects the Beast God. The Peng clan will not be participating." The old man said. "Sangqiong, is this your decision?" A sliver of impatience appeared in the man's eyes. Sangqiong slowly opened his eyes. He gazed calmly at the middle-aged man and said, "Lankyros, if you really do this, my Peng clan and your Tiger clan will immediately draw clear lines between each other. It's not too late to change your mind. The middle-aged man sighed lightly before turning around and leaving. Sangqiong watched as the man disappeared into the distance. He said, Lankiros, you must never forget that you are also a member of the Tiger Clan. You know exactly what the winged tiger god means to your clan. Don't become a traitor for some small gains. The man's expression did not change at all, as he immediately left the 97th floor. Sangqiong, how would you know about the secrets of my tiger clan? The winged tiger god is a member of my clan. My understanding of it is better than anyone else's. Entering the 99th floor doesn't need the bloodline power of the beast god at all. I only need a drop of its essence blood. There is indeed the legacy of the ancient winged tiger god on the 99th floor. But it's not just winged tiger gods that can obtain it. As long as you're a member of the tiger clan, you can obtain a part of it, depending on your strength. I know the ruler wants to take the winged tiger god for himself, but he won't succeed, because he's not a member of my clan. He'll be at his very weakest at the very moment he attempts to take it for himself, and that's when I'll strike. It'll still belong to me in the end. No one knew about these other thoughts in Lankiros's mind. As the strongest in his clan, he understood the winged tiger god the best. He knew so much that even the ruler of the beast god continent paled in comparison. After all, he was still a member of the same clan as the beast god. The beast god continent moved very quickly. Several dozen experts already followed Lankrios as he left the hall. They were all experts who cultivated in the tower. They all departed from their continent. Although the beast god continent was extremely far away from the Tianyuan continent, it was nothing to Saint King's. With his strength as a Saint Emperor, Lankiros directly cut open a hole in space and created a long-distance space gate, leading them to the Tianyuan continent. In the sky above the Cross Mountains, the cloudless sky suddenly began to twist and turn violently. Shortly afterwards, a mottled space gate suddenly appeared before around 50 or 60 people of varying ages and attires stepped out. With their arrival, an extremely powerful presence immediately began to spread in all directions, covering a radius of over several million kilometers. There was also an even vaster presence that suppressed all of that, enveloping the entire continent and alerting the countless experts of the Tianyuan continent. In the outer regions of the Cross Mountains was a village by the name of Longevity Valley. Uncle Xiao, currently planting vegetables in the fields, suddenly jerked while his originally plain eyes turned into a glare. He stared fixedly into the depths of the mountain range, towards where the Gilligan clan inhabited. He became extremely stern and mumbled, "They've finally come. Never thought they'd come so fast." At the same time, in another space at Mercenary City, Tianjian, who levitated in the air as he cultivated, snapped open his eyes. Immediately, two streaks of seemingly tangible golden light shot from his eyes. He seemed to be able to see through the void, able to see what was going on outside the space. With a slight shift, Tianjian immediately appeared outside the palace, floating in the air. He said with a clear voice, "The beast god continent has come. All elders gather immediately with me to go meet the enemies." In the city of God, the middle-aged beauty who levitated in an underground palace snapped open her eyes. She gazed into the distance in shock, while her expression was extremely stern. "This is the presence of Class 8 magical beasts. The beast god continent has intruded into our Tianyuan continent, and there's even a Class 9 magical beast equal to a Saint Emperor among them." An old voice boomed from the side, while an old man had already appeared before the woman soundlessly. Several tens of thousand kilometers away from the city of God, a middle-aged man stood in a small wooden hut, staring at the faraway sky. He too carried an extremely serious expression. With a heavy voice he said, "They're all presences of magical beasts, and there's even one that makes me feel fear. It should be a Class 9 magical beast. Has the beast god continent come invading?" He was Hao Wu, the person who had traveled to a continent inhabited by the 100 races, and obtained the essence blood of a Class 8 beast of antiquity, for the Grand Elder of the Radiant Saint Master Union. Chapter 785. The Beast God Continent Invades 3. the experts of the Beast God continent invading alerted all the powerful experts of the Tianyuan continent, especially due to the fact that Langkiros's presence as a saint emperor enveloped the entire continent. All those that were saint rulers could feel the trembling of their souls and the fear from deep within. In the headquarters of the city of God, Jianshen was currently discussing everything he had encountered in the artifact space with the president and grand elder. Suddenly, the expressions of the closely listening president and grand elder changed dramatically. They stood up without any warning and hurried to the window. They stared into the distance in shock and extremely solemn. What vast presence! TT. This is the presence from many Class 8 magical beasts, the Grand Elder said gruffly, overwhelmed in shock. As soon as he finished, an even vaster presence that made the very depths of his soul tremble swept across the sky in an overbearing manner. It caused the Grand Elder's expression to change once again, because before this terrifying presence, he could not even think of resisting. Just the presence itself had already defeated him. This might be the presence of a saint emperor, the president said in astoundment. Those must be experts from the Beast God continent. Is the Beast God continent invading our continent? The Grand Elder said hoarsely. Sitting to one side, Jianshen could also feel the assault of countless powerful presences from far away. He became extremely grim, his complexion becoming as dark as well water. He knew that the experts of the Beast God continent had come, and that they were here for the white tiger. There aren't many who can recognize the white tiger, but its special characteristics just stand out too much. If they announce the news of the winged tiger god, I'll become the center of attention for many people very soon. A light flickered across Jianshen's eyes, and he became uneasy. The Beast God continent had come too far, far beyond his expectations. He was no longer afraid of exposing his identity. Now he only worried that he was no longer able to wait a year for Class 7. He needed to reach Class 7 to revive his parents. In an unknown space in the Tianyuan continent, a plain-looking middle-aged woman slowly opened her eyes. She slowly spoke with a calm voice which reverberated through the entire space. The Beast God continent has invaded our Tianyuan continent. Immediately contact the Shenshao sect, the Patian sect, the Yangji sect, the Yuan sect, the Tyrant's Blade School, the Heartless School, the Heaven's Incense School, the Changyang clan and the Muyuan clan. Tell them to prepare to face the enemies. All disciples that are Saint Ruler or above, follow me to the Tianyuan continent. Yes, Pavilion Master. One voice resounded in the space, but it originated from various places. The 10 protector clans of the Tianyuan continent released the seals on their spaces, and countless experts entered the Tianyuan continent to repel the Beast God continent's invasion. Spread the word of the 10 protector clans. All human experts of the continent gather at the Cross Mountains. In the very moment that the 10 protector clans appeared, a gathering was also called by them to gather all the powerful people of the continent. Currently in an ancient mountain range, an old man sat cultivating in a cave. He was not very strong, as he was only a heaven saint master. At that moment, a giant space gate quickly formed in the sky above the mountain range. Countless figures with monstrous presences shot out from it, before disappearing in the blink of an eye. Inside the cave, the old man seemed to sense it and suddenly opened his eyes. His excitement could no longer be concealed and he said, "Fantastic!" The Yangji sects finally unsealed the space. The branch sect created under the elder's instructions was destroyed, and now I'll report it. No matter who it is, my Yangji sect will never let him live. They'll massacre his whole family. With that, the old man immediately left the cave. Using the surrounding energy of the world, he dragged himself towards the huge space gate. As he bit his thumb, out shot a droplet of blood towards the space gate, and he said courteously, "Disciple of the Yangji sect has returned. I have important matters to report to the elders." A huge pillar of light wrapped around the old man, sucking him into the space gate. In the depths of the Cross Mountains, the several dozen experts from the Beast God continent all hung in the air, staring into the distance at the endless land. Meanwhile, all the magical beasts of the Gilligan clan appeared from various areas in the form of humans, standing to one side courteously. The arrival of the experts had alerted all the powerful people of the Tianyuan continent. The reactions of the 10 protector clans and the mercenary city were extremely quick. The space above the Cross Mountains began to distort violently after a few mere seconds. Space gates constantly appeared as people of varying ages and attires walked out. Each of them radiated with a vast presence, causing the space to tremble. In a short period of time, hundreds of human experts had appeared above the Cross Mountains. They all stood in many groups and factions, facing the outsiders from the Beast God continent. There were 11 groups with the most people. Each group had around 20 to 30 people. They were either from Mercenary City or the 10 protector clans. The other 3 groups were relatively fewer in people. They were from the 3 empires of the continent. Without any surprise, the middle-aged woman from the Tsar family was also there. Beside the woman stood a ruddy old man. He was the other Saint King of the Tsar family. Around the 2 people from the Tsar family stood another 4 elderly people. They were the ancestors of the Kara clan and the Kazda clan. On the other side, Uncle Shio stood in his simple clothes, followed by an old man in red robes. Behind the 2 of them were another 6 people also in red robes, radiating with a powerful baleful force from all over. Other than them, a few hidden ancient clans and individuals, who never joined any particular organizations, had also gathered to help repel the invading Beast God continent. Although there were not many human experts, it was essentially a gathering of the peak existences of the entire Tianyuan continent. Lankiros eyed the people calmly. Even though the humans had completely exceeded the force he had brought from the Beast God continent, he did not become grim at all, and instead smiled icily. He said, "You experts of the Tianyuan continent move pretty fast. So many have gathered so quickly. Your Beast God continent has already broken the agreement of not intruding set down by the city lord and the winged tiger god from years before. Please quickly leave the continent." The white-clothed Tianjin spoke gruffly. According to the agreement between the city lord of Mercenary City and the winged tiger god of the Beast God continent, it was he who had the most right to speak out. Lankiros sneered and said coldly, "Everyone, you must know of the intentions of our Beast God continent. The ancient winged tiger god is the beast god of magical beasts. Yet the experts of the Tianyuan continent instead obstruct my people from taking it back. Why do you do that?" "What, the winged tiger god?" What Lankiros said caused all the people present to be greatly surprised. A sliver of doubt and confusion appeared in their eyes. Only a few elders of the mercenary city and Uncle Shio remained as normal, as they had already learned about the existence of the winged tiger god. Has the ancient winged tiger god appeared on our Tianyuan continent? All the people present were monsters that had lived for thousands of years. Their intelligence was on a devilish level, quickly understanding everything. Thoughts immediately began to flicker across the eyes of everyone present. Witnessing this, Lankiro's heart jerked slightly. He sneered. "Looks like there's still not many people who know about the winged tiger god. Whatever, my Beast God continent also does not wish to break the agreement from all those years ago. We only hope that your continent does not obstruct our search for the winged tiger god. We'll leave immediately after we find it. The Tianyuan continent is territory of the humans. It's not a place for your Beast God continent to behave wildly. We hope you can leave the continent. The 10 protector clans and mercenary city will deal with the matter about the winged tiger god." The speaker was a plain middle-aged woman, the pavilion master of the Pure Heart Pavilion. "Correct. The matters of the Tianyuan continent does not require interference from your Beast God continent. Please quickly leave the continent. We will give you an explanation for the winged tiger god after we confirm it." The speaker was an old man, an ancestor of a protector clan. He had reached the peak of Saint King long ago, and was only an inch away from Saint Emperor. Lankiros sneered. "Since you don't intend to oblige, don't blame me for going too far." As he spoke, Lankiros pointed towards the old man. A huge tiger claw condensed in that very moment, swinging at the old man with an earth-shaking force. The claw seemed ordinary, yet it carried the laws of the world and concealed countless mysteries. Inside it rippled a terrifying energy capable of destroying worlds. As the claw fell, it destroyed the surrounding space, turning it all pitch black. The Peak Saint King from the Protector clans became extremely grim. Just the claw brought an immeasurable pressure to him. He could not even conjure the thought of resisting the strike. Only an inch separated the very peak of Saint King and Saint Emperor. Yet this inch was a bottomless chasm. My Tianyuan continent is not somewhere you beast god continent experts can act recklessly in. Saint Emperor of the Tiger clan, I am your opponent. Why move against juniors? A scholarly, graceful voice resounded in the sky. With the voice, a 10-meter-wide fist quickly condensed, shooting towards the claw at a devastating speed. A sliver of light flickered across Lankiros's eyes, and he spoke with a clear voice. Path Lord of Carnal Desires, you finally come. As the only Saint Emperor of the Tianyuan continent, allow me to try you. The trajectory of the claw changed, rushing towards the giant fist with an sky-shattering presence as it ripped through the void. The collision of the fist and claw did not produce any world-shaking explosions. Instead, the space turned into pitch black. The strike from the two Saint Emperors had completely destroyed the space there. Path Lord, this place is too small. Let's fight outside the atmosphere. Lankiros laughed aloud. He turned into a streak of light, shooting off into the sky and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Everyone, chase them out of the Tianyuan continent. After the two Saint Emperors departed, a devastating battle also exploded between the 10 Protector clans and the magical beasts of the Beast God continent. Although there was a huge disparity between the strength of the two continents, the experts of the Tianyuan continent did not feel any fear at all. Chapter 786. The battle ceases. The battle in the depths of the Cross Mountains was extremely intense. It was in a state of absolute chaos where even the sun and moon seemed to dim, alarming the entire continent. Even millions of kilometers away, people could clearly feel the terrifying ripples of energy from the battle. The experts of the Tianyuan continent battled with the high-class magical beasts of the Beast God continent, from dozens of kilometers above the Cross Mountains to the sky of the Northern Ocean. The entire region seemed to be turned upside down, like water flowing backwards. Great waves formed constantly, causing water levels to fall by 9 meters for the entire region. Meanwhile, the earth-shaking roars of magical beasts shattered the surrounding space, resounding from the sky one after another. Moreover, the outer space battle between the Path Lord of Carnal Desires and the Tiger Emperor Lankiros was extremely intense. Even though no one could see them, frightening ripples of energy erupted constantly in the blue sky, causing the entire region to distort. Every time the two Saint Emperors clashed, it contained the power of destroying worlds, able to easily void a region of space itself. Both battles, no matter in the ocean or in outer space, shocked the entire continent. Not everyone knew about the Beast God continent invading. It was only limited to Saint rulers. Heaven Saint Masters and those below could sense the terrifying explosions of energy from the distance, but they had no idea what was going on, causing all the people to become oddly panic-stricken. Jian Chun was uneasy remaining in his room, in the Radiant Saint Master Union headquarters. From the very moment the invasion had begun, he had already been rather restless. He had no idea what the 10 Protector clans would do when they found out he had the Winged Tiger God. But no matter what actions they would take, Jian Chun believed they were all extremely detrimental to himself. Even if the experts from the Beast God continent were repelled, they would not let the Winged Tiger God remain with him, and most likely take it for themselves before attempting to tame it. After all, the Winged Tiger God was an ancient beast god. There would always be a day in the future where it would exceed Saint Emperor, and controlling the Winged Tiger God also meant directly controlling the entire beast god continent. I hope bad things don't happen too soon. Just 1 year. I only need 1 year, Jian Chun thought. Currently, all he could do was pray in his heart. He knew he was as weak as an ant before the Beast God continent and the 10 Protector clans, possessing no power to resist at all. Never thought that Beast God continent would actually come invading our continent. But this has nothing to do with the 5 of us. We only need to complete the Tiger King's mission. Just monitor Jian Chun without worrying, and find an opportunity where we can do it. Old Man Situ's group all muttered in their hearts in the and outside the Union headquarters. At the same time, the 4 protectors of the Bloodsword sect, that were still in their difficult search for Old Man Situ, also raised their heads to look into the distance from time to time. Once we finish the mission, we need to immediately head to the Northern Ocean to assist the sect master in repelling the Beast God continent. The concealing array of the city remained activated, concealing the presences of everyone inside the city. The 4 people were unable to use secret techniques to find Old Man Situ's group, so they could only slowly comb through the entire population like searching for a needle in a haystack. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The giant battle at the Northern Ocean continued. The battle between hundreds of experts had caused the energy of the world, in a radius of several millions of kilometers, to fall into disorder. All the fighters in the region were no longer able to absorb any of it for cultivation. Boom! A great crack, like a bolt from the blue, reverberated across the entire sky. It filled the entire region with an energy of destruction, while giant cracks began to appear in the sky. Its blueness turned into a pitch black instantly, forming a grand scene that had not been seen for countless years. Shortly afterwards, 2 resplendent streaks of light fell from outer space. With lightning speed, they directly arrived at the sky above the sea. They were the Path Lord and the Tiger Emperor. Currently, they both were surrounded by a coat of dense rainbow light obscuring their appearances. The terrifying pressure from them caused the world to tremble, while the surrounding space to distort. The very pressure itself was enough for the space to collapse. The great battle that had persisted for 3 days also came to a rest with the return of the Path Lord and Tiger Emperor. Although the violent battle had alarmed the entire continent, surprisingly no one had died, though there were quite a few injured. All the experts of the Tianyuan continent had come, but at least they gained the upper hand against less than half of the Beast God continent. What they currently wanted to do was to repel the Beast God continent, not to take a fight to the death. Once heavy injuries and death occurred, the situation would become much more severe. If the 2 continents truly went to war with each other, the Tianyuan continent would suffer great losses in the end, even if they played their final cards in repelling the Beast God continent. Path Lord, you're much more powerful than I imagined. The Tiger King's voice was rather gruff. Even though his face was hidden, his complexion was definitely not great. He had fallen to a disadvantageous position in his battle against the Path Lord of Carnal Desires. Tiger Emperor, take your people back to the continent where you belong. The Path Lord's voice was very plain, and without any emotions. His voice was very scholarly and refined, and vaguely carried some femininity and malevolence. Path Lord, I've only brought half of the entire Beast God Hall this time. If all 98 of us are here, with all the experts of every clan, what will your Tianyuan continent have to repel us? You won't be able to fight us all even if the 10 protector clans and the mercenary city use the Emperor armaments. I must bring back the Winged Tiger God this time. If you still want to interfere, I'll gather all of them and declare full-out war against the Tianyuan continent. The Tiger King roared powerfully. He seemed extremely confident. However, no one knew that the confidence displayed vastly differed from the bitterness in his heart. The Beast God continent had a total of 3 great experts. They were the ruler of the continent, the Saint Emperor Songqiong of the Peng clan, and himself, the Tiger Emperor of the Tiger clan. Similarly, the Beast God continent was divided into 3 factions that were each ruled by one of them. The continent was controlled between the 3 Saint Emperors. The ruler was the most powerful among the 3, so he controlled the most powerful faction of the continent. After him was the Saint Emperor of the Peng clan, controlling a second faction. Songqiong was only second to the ruler. Meanwhile, he, the Tiger Emperor, controlled the weakest faction. Currently, the ruler was in a crucial moment of his seclusion. He was unable to leave until he made a breakthrough, so he was temporarily unable to interfere with the matters of the Tianyuan continent. In addition, Songqiong stood on the side of the Winged Tiger God, which made it absolutely impossible for him to do anything detrimental to the Winged Tiger God. The Tiger Emperor even feared that Songqiong would instead appear in a crucial moment to help the winged tiger god by fending him off. As a result, only 2 of the 3 factions of the beast god continent could be used to fight the Tianyuan continent. However, there were also several elders in both factions who worshipped the winged tiger god to a mindless level. If they learned about the true reason why he and the ruler wanted to bring back the winged tiger god, many voices of objection would appear, and there might even be some of them who would throw themselves at death in resistance. After all, the winged tiger god was the publicly acknowledged god of the continent. A few beast of antiquity elders who blindly worshipped it would definitely oppose them in doing anything detrimental to the winged tiger god. If this broke out in the land, the outcome would be extremely severe. Even the ruler would not be able to suppress it. Although the ruler was currently the most powerful on the continent and possessed very great prestige, he was still very far away from the winged tiger god in the eyes of most citizens on the continent. The winged tiger god was essentially God to the continent. It was he who had led all the magical beasts to such a prosperous present day. As a result, the Tiger Emperor had only brought half of the experts from the Beast God Hall this time. Combined, they were all of the most trusted high-class magical beasts of both factions. The Tiger Emperor did not bring along any other experts, because he feared that they would announce his plan with the ruler once they learned about it, and as a result, bring on some negative effects. They would be cursed and spat on by the entire continent. If the Tianyuan continent was unwilling to step aside in this attack, he could only wait for the ruler to come out of seclusion before reconsidering something else. However, the experts of the Tianyuan continent had no idea about these hidden facts of the Beast God continent. The Pure Heart Pavilion Master stepped forward and said calmly, "We, the Tianyuan continent, will help you search for the winged tiger god of your beast god continent, but you cannot take even a step onto the continent." Hearing that, Langkiros paused for a long while. Afterwards he agreed, "Okay then. Because of the ancient agreement, I'll believe you all this time. I give you all 3 months. I hope you can find the winged tiger god in this time and hand it over to the beast god continent." Finally, the grand battle that had lasted for 3 days came to a close. The experts of the 2 continents had reached an agreement where the beast god continent would no longer attempt to intrude on the Tianyuan continent, but they had to hand up the winged tiger god. With the battle ending, the experts all dispersed off in various directions. However, the 10 protector clans all gathered in Mercenary City under the invitation of the city's Grand Elder. In a space opened up in Mercenary City, the white-clothed Tianjin currently sat with the representatives of the 10 clans around a conference table in the floating palace he cultivated in. "Everyone, the winged tiger god has appeared once again, and this time on our Tianyuan continent. I wonder how everyone feels about this." Tianjin said with a clear voice, "The winged tiger god is an ancient beast god. When it fully matures, it will exceed Saint Emperor. In the ancient times, our continent had an expert like Mo Tianyin protecting it, so we did not fear the beast. Now that Mo Tianyin is gone, what power do we have to rival it after it successfully matures? This is why we cannot allow the beast god continent to obtain it," a grim, middle-aged man said gruffly. Chapter 787, Identity Exposed Correct. We cannot let the winged tiger god be brought back to the beast god continent. Otherwise, it'll become a grave threat to our continent. I also agree with that. We cannot let the experts of the beast god continent take it back, no matter what. The middle-aged man's suggestion brought on the agreement of all the people present. Other than the pavilion master of the Pure Heart Pavilion, all of them agreed on not returning the winged tiger god. Then how does everyone plan on dealing with the winged tiger god on our continent? Tianjin asked once again. "If it's still young, then we'll tame it into a force of our own, or force it into an ancient agreement. If the 2 methods mentioned don't work, we'll have to kill it off even if we end up offending the beast god continent. Our Tianyuan continent no longer has the power to repel a fully grown winged tiger god." An old man of the protector clans growled. He was extremely grim. "According to what I know, the beast god continent has a total of 3 saint emperors. One of them is the Tiger Emperor Lankiros, the weakest among them. If we, the 10 protector clans along with your mercenary city, use our emperor armaments, it should be enough to fend off Lankiros together. Next is the Saint Emperor of the Pung clan. He's stronger than the Tiger Emperor, but the Path Lord should be able to handle it. As for the strongest, the ruler of the continent, the protector of mercenary city should be able to handle him, said an azure-robed middle-aged man. Tianjian paused for a while before following up. The barrier spirit that protects my mercenary city was left behind years ago by the city lord. It's already existed for countless years, and no one knows just how powerful it's become. In my opinion, it should be strong enough to fight off the ruler. Since we possess the power to fend off the beast god continent's threat, let's hurry up and find the winged tiger god. A white-robed, ruddy old man said. Tianjian stared deeply into the old man's eye. After a slight hesitation, he said, "Everyone, I might have seen the winged tiger god many years ago. At that time it was still a cub and not very strong, but accompanying it was a talented young man that it was extremely close to. In my opinion, it wouldn't be difficult if we wanted to control the winged tiger god such that it would not threaten our continent. We could simply not worry and allow it to follow that young man. When it fully matures, it definitely won't do anything harmful to our continent because of the young man. No, we definitely can't leave it like that. The matter of the winged tiger god is extremely important. We can't let it be controlled just by a kid. Only when such a powerful beast god is in the hands of us protector clans can we relax." The azure-robed man immediately objected. The winged tiger god cannot remain in the hands of that kid. Tianjian, you favor that kid so much. Perhaps he has some connection with you? The ruddy old man stood up and heavily objected what Tianjian had said. Tianjian eyed the old man and said, "You must be Changyang Qingyan of the Changyang clan." "Correct, I am indeed Changyang Qingyan," the old man said calmly, staring straight into Tianjian's eyes. Tianjian sighed lightly. "The one connected to that young man probably isn't me. Whatever, since everyone objects this suggestion, just treat it as if I didn't say it. My mercenary city will no longer be participating in how everyone handles the winged tiger god." After the 10 clans departed, they immediately passed orders to a few ancient clans to devote all their strength into searching for the winged tiger god. At the same time, they announced the special characteristics of the tiger. Receiving the order, the ancient clans then immediately passed it on to the hermit clans below them. The hermit clans then spread the same order to various kingdoms and sects of various sizes. The news spread in this layer-to-layer fashion, and quickly reached all corners of the continent. It brought on an upsurge of people who searched for the tiger. More importantly, all the people knew about the characteristics of the winged tiger god. There were even a few kingdoms who sent their soldiers on a complete search across their lands, capturing all the magical beasts that matched the description of the winged tiger god, no matter strong or weak, before getting their heaven saint masters to pass it all on to the hermit clans. The 10 protector clans all appeared. Large groups of disciples, or members of the clans and sects left their always sealed space, stepping onto the continent to assist the search for the winged tiger god. At the same time, a middle-aged man floated in the middle of a space carved out on the Tianyuan continent. He wore long, white robes lined with gold, and he seemed refined and scholarly while also carrying slivers of malevolence. The man did not give off the presence of someone powerful at all. He seemed just like an ordinary person, but his floating body seemed to be fused with the space. He gazed into the distant void, and his eyes flickered. He mumbled to himself. The winged tiger gods reappeared, and it even appeared on the Tianyuan continent. It's a pity I left the Pure Heart Pavilion too early, so I didn't get the chance to look through those ancient records that recorded the mysteries and rumors of the ancient times. Otherwise, I'd have a clearer understanding of it, and it'd be much easier to search for it. The 10 protector clans are searching for the winged tiger god. After they find it, I just need to steal it from them and force the tiger into an ancient agreement. I can't just let this winged tiger god be taken advantage by the beast god continent, nor those protector clans. In the city of God, News regarding the winged tiger god echoed throughout the entire city. Discussions of the tiger could be heard on all the streets, big or small. In the Radiant Saint Master Union headquarters, Jian Chun was lying on his bed and slowly opened his eyes. His complexion darkened. Although the City of God had activated the concealing array, it could only hide the presence of people. His presence of sensing things remained unaffected. He clearly sensed the situation within a radius of 20 kilometers. So naturally he had learned about the news of the winged tiger god from all the people. The situation's developing at an unexpected speed. I can't stay in the Union any longer, Jian Chun thought to himself. He stood up immediately afterwards and left the Union with the white tiger in his hand. In the very moment Jian Chun left the 5th story of the Union, the president and the Grand Elder both exited from their rooms silently. They stared in the direction where Jian Chun had disappeared off to with complicated expressions, and after a long pause they finally produced a soft sigh. Looks like that the beast of antiquity on Yang Yutian's shoulder is probably the winged tiger god that the protector clans want, the Grand Elder said with a gentle voice. The president nodded slightly. Should we try persuading Yang Yutian to hand up the winged tiger god? It'll prevent a lot of trouble. I don't believe that he would give it up so easily. His relationship with the tiger has already reached an extremely close level. Trying to persuade him would just be a waste of words. Also, the protector clans right now just want the winged tiger god. With their statuses, they won't harm him, the Grand Elder said. I hope so, the president said gently. Although he now knew the identity of the winged tiger god, he did not report to the protector clans. Nor did he stop Jian Chun from leaving. He was a man at the end of his life. He understood many things, and had already let them go. The Union had some power in resisting the Tsar family, but the Union would not even think of resisting the protector clans. Jian Chun descended from the 5th floor, arriving in the huge lobby at the ground floor. He directly walked out of the Union. Along the way, all the Radiant Saint Masters Jian Chun passed by in the surroundings gave him a weird look. However, the majority of the gazes focused on the white tiger on Jian Chun's shoulder, while they all began discussing about it. Why do I feel like the beast of antiquity on Yang Yutian's shoulder is similar to the winged tiger god? They're both tiger magical beasts. And if you look at the back of it, there really seems to be a pair of wings. Wow, you're right. I also feel like they're quite similar. The wings are hidden extremely well, but if you look carefully you can still see them. Still though, how would an ancient beast god yield to a human with its pride? I think that the magical beast on Yang Yutian's shoulder is just a beast of antiquity. It just looks very similar to the winged tiger god, that's all. After all, of the countless magical beasts that exist on the continent, there's quite a few that mutate. It's nothing weird to have 2 magical beasts that look the same. That's true too. It's probably just a coincidence. After all, the ancient beast god is as powerful as Motianyan. How would they yield to us humans with their pride? Also, Yang Yutian's beast of antiquity has already reached class 6. It's not like the rumored ancient beast god cub. Jian Chun's mood became even heavier from the various murmurings. His footsteps sped up slightly, while his face remained calm as ever without displaying any sense of being alarmed. If he was alarmed, people would know he carried a guilty conscience. People would definitely figure out that the white tiger was the winged tiger god. Jian Chun left the Union very quickly with Xiao Bai before disappearing into the crowds. He did not encounter any obstructions at all. Now that the white tiger's identity could no longer be kept as a secret, Jian Chun could not stay at the Radiant Saint Master Union headquarters any longer. He had already temporarily put the matter of reaching class 7 to one side. Although he was extremely unwilling, he needed to protect the white tiger. Jian Chun's parents undoubtedly held a very important status in his heart, but he also could not give up on the white tiger. Just as Jian Chun arrived on the main street, he frowned slightly. With a flash of cold light in his eyes, he immediately condensed a white cloud from Radiant Saint Force, riding away into the distance on it. When Jian Chun had traveled far away from the Union, the space around him suddenly froze. It trapped his body in the middle of the air, unable to move at all. Shortly afterwards, 5 figures shot over from below, They arrived before Jian Chun in the blink of an eye, and one of them extended his hands towards the white tiger as he sneered. Jian Chun, even if you turned into a radiant saint master, we're still able to find you. Let's see where you run this time. Roar. Before Jian Chun had even began moving, the white tiger immediately gave out a roar. It was completely unaffected by the frozen space, and shot out in a streak of white light. Its two sharp claws quickly scraped against the two hands, leaving behind two deep wounds. Worthy of being an ancient beast god. You sure are powerful, harming me despite only being class 6. Old man Situ exclaimed in admiration. He then stared towards the other 4 people and bellowed, "Come, do it together. We'll take the winged tiger god and get out of here." Currently the news of searching for the winged tiger god had already spread through the entire continent, so Old Man Sita naturally knew about the white tiger's true identity. However, this did not affect his plan of taking the winged tiger god at all. To them, it didn't matter if it was a beast of antiquity or an ancient beast god. It was only important if it would allow them to reap great profits. Called out by his fighter name, Jian Chun jerked violently. He stared at the group of 5 with narrowed eyes while killing intent already covered his face. He bellowed, "How do you know my name?" Chapter 788. Battling the 8 Clans 1. Ha 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 ha, of course we know your name. Jian Chun, be obedient and hand over the tiger. An old man sneered, already extending his hands towards the white tiger in Jian Chun's bosom. His hands were covered with an invisible layer of world force to prevent the white tiger from harming him. You're the people who work with the Gilligan clan, the murderers who killed my parents. Killing intent exploded in Jian Chun's eyes. He was no longer able to control himself against his parents' murderers. His chaotic Niden and his Dantian spat out strands of chaotic force, filling up every corner of his body. His pushed his chaotic body to the utmost limit. Jian Chun's body shook, and the frozen space in the surroundings immediately shattered. He threw a punch directly at the 2 hands approaching him from the old man. The fist concealed powerful chaotic force. The space in front of the fist was compressed by the vast energy as it flew out. Although the 5 old men had pursued Jian Chun for a very long time, they were unfamiliar with his strength. The old man was already a 5th heavenly layer saint ruler, but he had only casually applied world force to his hands without much effort in it to grab the winged tiger god. Crack! As Jian Chun's fist collided with the old man's hands, the thin layer of world force was dispersed by the punch, and there was a clear crack of bones breaking shortly afterwards. The old man's hands were shattered by Jian Chun's punch, and the old man could not help but grunt from the great pain. Jian Chun retreated with just a single strike, and immediately opened up a distance of several hundred meters between them after a slight shake of his body. He was extremely mad, but he did not lose his rationality. He knew that he was unable to fend off the 5 old men, all by himself, as 2 of them were already 6th heavenly layer saint rulers. Be careful. This Jian Chun's not weak, and we don't have much time left. Use all your strength to take the tiger, and leave here immediately. Old man Sita growled. He did not hold back, immediately attacking Jian Chun first. Following him, the 3 other people also stopped taking it lightly. They all rushed at Jian Chun. They had to take the winged tiger god as soon as possible. At this very moment, a gray-clothed, middle-aged man shot in front of Jian Chun like a lightning bolt, and threw 4 palms towards them. 7th heavenly layer saint ruler. Old man Situ and Matin cried out weirdly, and they immediately became stern. They condensed their saint weapons without any hesitation, and the weapons erupted with powerful energy ripples as they poured vast amounts of saint force into them. They swung their weapons. Wherever their saint weapons passed by, a black slit would form in the surrounding space. Old man Situ and Mating were only 1 heavenly layer weaker than the gray-robed man. So under their full strength strikes the attack from the man was destroyed without any risk. The other 2 5th heavenly layer old men were not so fortunate. In the very moment their saint weapons collided with the man's attack, a powerful energy ripple erupted in midair that knocked the 2 of them backwards. They became rather pale in the face, The four protectors of the Bloodsword sect were currently walking 25 kilometers away from Jianchen, and they suddenly paused together. They all looked at Jianchen's direction. The energy ripples between the battle of the gray-clothed man and Old Man Situ's group had alerted them. "It's them! We finally found them!" A protector growled, before the four of them turned into streaks of red light shooting off into the distance. The four palms from the middle-aged man knocked Old Man Situ's group backwards. He glared at them and said with a heavy voice, "You outsiders have no right to act so brazenly in the city of God." The old men's expressions all darkened. They never thought that even after being so far from the Union, they would still alert the experts of the Union, especially a seventh heavenly layer Saint Ruler. At the same time, powerful baleful force appeared in the distance. 4 streaks of blood-red light shot over like lightning bolts, arriving before Old Man Situ in a flash. They surrounded the old men, people of the Bloodsword sect. The gray-clothed man furrowed his eyebrows slightly. Even though the 4 protectors were weaker than him, he still looked at the 4 of them with a sliver of fearfulness. The arrival of the 4 protectors confirmed Jianchen's thought that the 5 Saint Rulers that had come for the White Tiger were the murderers of his parents. It strengthened the killing intent in his heart. Shortly afterwards, he looked towards the gray-clothed man, and then the 4 protectors. With a slight hesitation, he did not stay but instead immediately flew off into the distance. Although the murderers of his parents were right before him, it was not the time for revenge. He could not throw himself into danger from following his impulse. The most important matter right now was leaving the city of God, and then leaving the Holy Empire. Only like that would he become slightly safer. He was no longer considering just himself, but also for the safety of the White Tiger. "Yang Yutian, leave behind that beast of antiquity on your shoulder. Otherwise, don't think that you'll be leaving this city." Suddenly, an old voice boomed in the sky. Around Jianchen, over 10 ancestors of the 8 clans ran over. They were fused with space and traversed hundreds of meters with each step. They approached Jianshen in just a few seconds, surrounding Jianshen and trapping him inside. One of the ancestors eyed the gray-clothed man and clasped his hands. "Xiang Long, we 8 clans aren't trying to work against the Union. It's just that it's extremely possible that Yang Yutian's beast of antiquity is the winged tiger god that the protector clans are searching for. As a result, he needs to leave the beast behind." The gray-clothed person remained silent. The 8 clans had even mentioned the protector clans, so he was powerless. After all, he understood just how logical their words were because even he himself wondered if the beast on Jianchen's shoulder was the winged tiger god the protector clans were looking for. Jianshen eyed all the people coldly. He already understood that it would not be easy for him to leave here today. Even the Union that stood on his side could do nothing. This matter related to the winged tiger god, which could lead to even the 10 protector clans interfering. No organization dared to work against the protector clans. He only could rely on himself to leave this place. Jianshen placed the white tiger behind his neck, where it clung on, and he drew the ruler armament dragon-slaying sword from his space ring. With the sword in hand, Jianshen's entire presence underwent a complete change. Currently he was like a sharp sword drawn from a sheath, radiating with a sword chi that shot into the sky. He seemed like a completely different person from the graceful and scholarly radiant saint master he was before. The gray-clothed man stared at Jianshen fixedly with bell-sized eyes. He was filled with disbelief, as if he had just seen a ghost. How is this possible? Yang Yutian, are you a fighter or a radiant saint master? The ancestors of the clans all sucked in a breath. In that very moment, their hearts, which had remained calm for countless years, began beating uncontrollably. All of them were overwhelmed by shock from what they saw, struggling to believe what they had seen. Yang Yutian, I never thought you'd be the ultimate prodigy in history, to be both a fighter and a radiant saint master. And you've already reached Saint Ruler as a fighter, a member of the 8 clans said in surprise. He eyed Jianshen like he was looking at a monster. At that very moment, several streaks of white light flew over from the distance. The president, Grand Elder and several elders hurried over from the headquarters at the same time. before all stopping far away and gaping at Jian Chun in absolute shock. Only the Grand Elder seemed to remain rather calm, and without much change, though his gaze towards Jian Chun was also filled with some complexity. Young Yutian, never in the world did I think you're also a fighter. Is this real? A person that's both a fighter and a Radiant Saint Master? Wah, what does this mean? The president of the Radiant Saint Master Union remarked. His voice was filled with disbelief. It was like he had just seen a miracle. The Grand Elder paused for a while, before speaking out clearly. Young Yutian, it doesn't matter if you're a fighter or a Radiant Saint Master. I only want to ask you one thing. Have you ever regarded yourself as a member of the Union? Jian Chun looked towards the President and Grand Elder with a complicated gaze. With his hands clasped, he said, Mr. President, Grand Elder, I thank you for the care and concern in these days. Young Yutian will never dare to forget your kindness. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely return the favor. Master, don't believe his bullshit. This young Yutian wormed his way into our union with ill intentions. Don't fall for his tricks. Yun Tian flew over from the distance, looking at Jian Chun with a gaze of joy. He was overjoyed by Jian Chun's misfortunes. He had also learned about the winged tiger god. Originally, he had planned on returning to the Union headquarters to tell this to the president, but he never thought he would encounter such an incident along the way, as well as accidentally discover Jian Chun's fighter identity. Yang Yutian, now that you've offended the 10 protector clans, I want to see how you survive. This time, the Tsar family doesn't even need to do anything. You'll die under the hands of the protector clans, Yin Tian thought. He was extremely excited. He was already certain that Jian Chun would die, with no one able to help him. Jian Chun glanced over Yin Tian. His ice-cold glare, sharp like a sword, caused Yin Tian's heart to tremble violently. Unconsciously, he took several steps back. Just the gaze of Jian Chun caused Yin Tian to become nervous. However, Yin Tian recovered very quickly. As soon as he realized that he was scared into retreat by the glare of a dead man, his embarrassment immediately fueled his rage. He bellowed, Seniors, Yang Yutian took in the winged tiger god, and even assisted its growth. He's already become a traitor of the continent. May the seniors execute Yang Yutian right here, right now, and do an extremely meritorious deed. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.